Good evening, everybody. This is Beyond the Buzzer, and this is the Labor Day edition. I forget the date. What it is? Days are going by so fast. I'm your host, Dave. I'm your host, Dave. Time to check with you live here on Zingo Television, I-95, Facebook Live, YouTube, and everywhere you hear the sound of my voice. And I can't do this show every single week, and actually twice a week, without my main man to the right of me from the three-point conversion, my main man, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash, my three-point conversion tag team partner.
There you go. 3-point conversion. Thank you. I didn't even give you a chance to do the drop right. By the way, hey, listen, don't worry about missing the days. It's a national holiday. People don't expect you to remember those shenanigans.
Yes, this show is going to be full of shenanigans, and this show is sponsored by the letter S. Also, the show is sponsored by our good friends, as you see in the top right, left-hand corner behind me, our good friends at Valor. I'll point behind them. That's VALR.us. That's ITSValor.us for all needs commercial as well as music, commercial music, everything else in between. Check out my main man, Jay Waddell, and the entire crew over there. Tell them we sent you, and trust me, if you're looking for your business to blow up, they will definitely take care of you.
By the way, I got to tell you, now that I'm pointing at Valor on the other side, doesn't it look like I'm asking people where the gym is in the hotel?
Or you're actually walking like an Egyptian.
By the way, those Bengals have a much better record next year. Anyways.
Yes, and we'll get to that. So, for those who've never watched the show, Kyle and I basically talk sports the entire time. But guess what? In a little bit of a plot twist, tonight, it's all about the NFL. All right, so we're not talking basketball bubble. I know no bubble talk because, yes, I know Giannis is almost eliminated and the Celtics are blowing out the Raptors. But guess what? We're not talking basketball. We're not talking baseball like we ever do anyway.
We're not talking about how much of the first round of the West that Kyle got right. We're not doing that tonight.
Not tonight. We're not also talking about Major League Soccer, NASCAR, Formula One, or the sport formerly known as the NHL. We're not talking about anything. Tonight is all about the National Football League. So for the next hour and a half, Kyle and I will go over all 8 divisions, the winners, our players to watch, predictions, and we'll even pick week one's games as well, too. So if you're on Facebook Live or you're on YouTube, and you have a comment, leave it on the section below. And our main man, Bobby Blackjack, up in New Jersey. Yes, I don't know if we're going to hear from him tonight because he's out with the Crickets, literally. We'll post your comment on the screen. Kyle, listen. The NFL kicks, and not to mention the show is an hour and a half tonight because the NFL season will kick off on Thursday night with the defending champion Kansas City Chiefs raising a banner in front of no fans against the Houston Texans in the bannerless banner ceremony. So that game will be going on at 8:30 on NBC. We're not going to go against it. All right, we're just not going to do it. Yeah, it's the first night of the NFL season. Nobody watched preseason because it didn't exist. So, since it's the first real football we've had, no offense to college football, the first real football we've had since the pandemic in the XFL, I figured we want everybody to watch it. So, we're going to go a little bit longer tonight so Kyle and I can really have a little bit of fun with the 32 teams. All right, Kyle. So, what are your thoughts on preseason, Kyle?
What preseason? No, listen, honestly, you're going to see me being pretty harsh on a lot of first-year quarterbacks for precisely the reason that you're noticing. There's going to be a lot of teams who I was really looking forward to see try to make a move who will not be this season because of the lack of a preseason. And listen, that's not just for rookie quarterbacks. Danny Thompson, I got to tell you, no preseason is affecting a lot more franchises than I would have imagined. People want to talk about, preseason's overrated. Preseason's tough to watch. 4 season games of preseason play too much. Listen, you're about to learn this year about why they do what they do in the preseason.
Not to mention, if you play for facially challenges crew, you're starting already, Rodney. You were already starting. It's not even 5 minutes into the show.
Hey, it's that way to the gym, Rodney. Go see Valor. Yeah.
Oh yeah, snap into a Slim Jim. All right. So listen, on the bottom of the screen, you will see the predictions for me and Kyle go across the screen. We're going to start with the AFC East as you see it right there. So we're going to start with the AFC East story from top to bottom. The real story in the AFC East this year. It's not Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. It's not Benny of the Jets, as you see down on the screen. It's Cam Newton, the team captaincy, the New England Patriots and a change of the guard. It seems like for the first time since Madden was actually popular on the PlayStation, that Tom Brady is not the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. The Patriots right now are in a new transition era. Now they're quarterbacked by Cam Newton, former Carolina Panther, and also NFL MVP as well too. Newton takes over an offense that doesn't kind of look the same. Guys like Mohamed Sanu is out the door. Also, they were hit hard on defense due to COVID with players like Patrick Chung, among others, who were no longer on the roster this year. Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, I have the Patriots winning the division at 10-6. Where do you have the Patriots going?
And listen, I'm not even mad at you for 10-6. I have the Patriots at 8-8. We're just a couple games different, and really, honestly, it's all about a couple of tough games. What it probably boils down to is you think they'll come out on top, and I don't. And I'm not even – listen, there's far worse predictions you make on your docket than this one. I'm not even mad about it. I have the Patriots doing 8-8, but I believe you and I both have them making the playoffs.
Here's the reason why I have it 10-6, okay? There's only been 2 times in history of the NFL that Cam Newton has come into a season with a humongous chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. The year he came in and he won the MVP with Carolina, I think carried him for a 15-1 season, and then forgot what football like the Super Bowl when Von Miller was chasing him around the field in his MVP season. Newton was phenomenal. He was a one-man army, a one-man gang, and literally basically carried an offense to the Super Bowl. The defense was really good, but he carried that team single-handedly offensively. No offense to the other 10 guys that were around him, but none of them were close to Cam Newton's level at all the entire season. All right. When you look at this New England team and you look at where Cam Newton is, he's coming off a foot injury, a shoulder injury, and a franchise that basically threw him away. Yeah. Matt Rule came in. David Tepper and company basically escorted arguably the best player in franchise history out the front door. And here, once again, comes Bill Belichick. Belichick has been known for resurrecting players' careers. We can go on and on with the list of players, but let's just say he made Randy Moss relevant once again after being in Oakland. The reason why I have him at 10-6 is because, remember, the last time the Patriots had a quarterback that was mobile, Jacoby Brissett did a very, very good job. And if anybody knows that Thursday night game against the Tennessee Titans, when they won on that Thursday night, was the reason why Jacoby Brissett got the big contract in Indianapolis. Certainly. It is what it is. And Josh McDaniels is all.
Those are great reasons. The only thing I would come back to you with is why I'm a touch. And granted, it's 2 games difference. It's not like I'm telling you you're completely wrong. The reasons why I can't share in your optimism, and I'm a Cam Newton guy, Danny Thompson. Let's be clear about that. Me and EJ Christian all the time would be like, with the Superman and the thing and the Dan and yogurt and all of it. I get it. I'm Greek. I love yogurt according to stereotypes, right? But what I'm trying to say is this. I just can't share the optimism when the pieces on that offense weren't enough for a quarterback that some people call the greatest of all time to do more than what he did in New England. So how do you expect Cam Newton to do the same thing? I don't. I just expect him to be a little bit, accent on little bit worse. That's all.
And here's the reason why I say it's not going to be the worst as you think. Mm-hmm. Remember, Tom Brady's a sitting target. Okay. So when you have a sitting target in Tom Brady, and the pocket doesn't move, basically you know what you're getting yourself into. With Cam Newton's bigger than pretty much almost anybody with the exception of, as you call it, the beef on that line. He's bigger than all the receivers, bigger than all the running backs. Mm-hmm. And he's harder to take down than any of those guys. And like I said, once again, motivation is a fool. What keeps the Patriots away from being anything better than 10-6 is the top target is still Julian Edelman. Nothing against Julian Edelman, but he's not a game-breaking threat at wide receiver.
N'Keal Harry, injury prone, etc. I get you.
N'Keal Harry has to turn into that guy. Problem was N'Keal Harry was hurt all last season. Typical Patriot way. Patriots don't have another receiver. Surprisingly, they didn't go after Josh Gordon either, kind of before. The Patriots don't have a vertical threat down the field, and there's no 2 tight ends to make this work. But what will be effective in the game is the fact that because Cam Newton can run the ball with his feet, that's going to allow lanes for Sony Michel, James White, among other players to be able to get holes. Rex Burkhead, if he ever stays healthy. Yeah. The Patriots have weapons, and remember, Josh McDaniels has always been wanting to work with a quarterback that is mobile.
Correct.
The defense will not be as dominant as it was last season. The Patriots defense last year, Kyle, I think you agree with me, they saved everybody in fantasy. If you had the Patriots defense in fantasy football, you probably won.
Fantasy, my butt, Danny Thompson. They saved the actual New England Patriots to keep them relevant in the division.
Defensive MVP Stephon Gilmore returns leading a secondary that was one of the best in the league last year. But the problem is Patrick Chung is not there. Hey, somebody call Earl Thomas. Hey, listen, if you're going to resurrect one player on offense, you might as well resurrect Earl Thomas on defense.
I hear that.
They need some help in the secondary because, like I said, Stephon Gilmore will take away any receiver in the division. The good news in this division is, with the exception of the team we're talking about in a second, there's only one number one target in this entire division. That's it. So Stephon Gilmore can move around the division as much as you want to against the best receivers in the division as possible. So I have him at 10-6. Kyle has him at 8-8.
Hey, so, I'll meet you in the middle here on one thing, Danny Thompson. If they get Earl Thomas, I'll bump it to 9-7. I'm down.
Okay. Now, let's go to the team that I have second and the team that, Kyle, you probably have first in the division, which is the Buffalo Bills. Mm-hmm. Circle the wagons, as Chris Berman said. Here come them Buffalo Bills. All right. As you see on the bottom, I have the Bills listed at 9-7 on the season. And Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them one game better at 10-6. So again, not like we're butting heads on this one, Chief. But listen, you're about to mention not Stephon Gilmore, but Stephon Diggs. He's going to be a big deal for this offense. And while some misguided people who are dear friends of ours call their running game pedestrian with Devin Singletary, I can't sign off on that pessimism. I think they're going to be a pretty balanced offense. I think Josh Allen continues to improve, and that they're going to be pretty volatile in a schedule that suddenly got just a little bit easier thanks to the departure of one Thomas Edward Brady.
Here's the issue I have with the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is a talented quarterback, but Josh Allen is very erratic as well, too.
I mean, also correct. No, you're not wrong.
The problem with Josh Allen is that there were so many times last season where he would get the ball down, they'll get the ball down the field, and Josh Allen would make a mistake. Maybe because his hesitation, maybe it's happy feet. One thing about Josh Allen, like Cam Newton, he could win games with his feet. Mm-hmm. He has a rocket of an arm, but the problem is he's not very accurate with it. Stephon Diggs can run the deep route. This is a match made in heaven as long as the ball is accurately thrown. The Bills defense, I have nothing against. They're arguably, I say, a top 7 defense in the NFL. They're weapons galore. Tre'Davious White just got paid. Listen, arguably, White's one of the 5 best corners in the league. He deserved to get the money he got. The Bills have no issues on defense. The question is, can Josh Allen make enough plays? Now, when it comes to the running game, Devin Singletary is a guy that, you said is a little bit better than average, but I think Zach Moss, the rookie Zach Moss, might take this job before this is over with. If the Bills can find a consistent running game, 9-7 might be a little bit too stingy on my side. But I'll tell you this. Josh Allen got him in the playoffs last year. Josh Allen also cost him that game in the playoffs last year as well, too.
Sure.
I just don't know if Josh Allen is going to be able to get over the hump this year. Stephon Diggs has got to stay healthy. They got to find another number 2 wide receiver. I got him at 9-7. But now, Kyle, why do they win the division over the Patriots?
Obviously win the division over the Patriots because of 2 reasons alone. A, Thomas Edward Brady no longer in said division. And B, you already mentioned that defense. Listen, one can talk about Josh Allen being blah all they want, but then they forget that their quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater and they need to stop talking. Sorry, Rodney, I love you. But what I'm trying to get to is, see, I'm the one going after the trolls tonight, Danny Thompson. Get out my way, world. But thank you, Bobby. But what I'm trying to say is this. Again, we're one game apart here. Let's not act like we're gaps. We're talking with great language because we're good radio personalities. But let's get back to the core of it. But the reason why I have the Bears over the top, all the points you make about Josh Allen are accurate. However, before we set him on fire for the playoffs, let's keep in mind it was a holding call that killed the drive where they had an opportunity to subdue the Texans, to give Deshaun Watson the opportunity to pull off that miracle run to put the Texans in position there and to win the game. It was not Josh Allen. He made mistakes, oh sure, but he did not lose that game as could be prescribed by a synopsis, and I mean no offense. But again, I'm getting nitpicky on you here. Josh Allen is definitely a spark, and one thing I know about quarterbacks that are forces of nature that sometimes make mistakes, good defenses bail them out. May I remind you of one Brett Favre in Green Bay historically, by the way, right? Okay. And I don't think Josh Allen turns the ball over as much as Brett Favre, as a side note. But listen, as much as we can talk about Josh Allen, you and I both know that this defense is going to be what gets them to the top of that division.
Agreed. And they have a very good special teams unit as well, too, because they returned Pro Bowler Andre Roberts as return man back there. So the Bills have a lot of talent back there.
All right. Big praise on Danny Thompson bringing up special teams. That's what I'm talking about. This is
Listen, special teams is completely important because I think in any situation in the NFL, especially when you have a Pro Bowler back there and Andre Roberts, it's going to make a big difference. I think he does.
If the Houstons miss a kick, they don't win that playoff game, simply put. If the Texans miss the kick.
Yes, well, we'll get to the Houstons in a few minutes as well, too. Nice. All right, let's talk about the New York Football Jets. All right, listen, last year at the bottom, I have Benny and the Jets at 6-10. Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them at 4-12. And listen, Sam Darnold is one of the great tragedies of the NFL. The lack of protection and support he has there in the world of East Rutherford is something that is just tear-jerking. I really would like to see what he could do behind a real offense. And really, if the Jets continue to be awful, we may just get that opportunity. And I'll leave it at that. Danny.
Okay, here's the situation I have with the Jets. I have them at 6-10 for a reason. All right, you did mention the porous offensive line. They did address it in the draft. Okay,
a little bit.
They did a little something here. They still didn't address the wide receiver hole. They could have took one. They had the chance to get any of the three major receivers, but they went offensive line. I get it. Mm-hmm. You got to have beef to protect Sam Darnold. The real question is, can Adam Gase just keep his mouth shut and let Le'Veon Bell be Le'Veon Bell? The reason why they're 6-10 is because Le'Veon Bell can't be Le'Veon Bell. It's very simple. Le'Veon Bell needs an offensive line because he's arguably the most patient running back in the NFL, but he gets it done when he's patient.
Correct.
Problem is the Jets' offensive line is not very good, and hell, Jamal Adams is not even there anymore on defense to save them defensively. Listen, it's not an easy year for Jets fans. Sam Darnold will actually stay upright. That's the most positive part of the season. I think he will stay upright. I don't think he'll have an injury situation this year, but losing Robbie Anderson is going to hurt as well, too.
Good point.
Losing Robbie Anderson is going to hurt, but remember, if you're playing fantasy football, listen, they have a kid, then the kid from Baylor, Mims, receiver. He's going to be good. He's going to be a guy that can go up the top and go get it. The problem is, he's not going to do it against the Patriots because Stephon Gilmore's waiting for him. He's not going to do it to Tre'Davious White because he's going to be waiting on him. And guess what? The Dolphins spent a whole bunch of money on corners. He ain't going to do it against them either. That's 6 games. That's 6 games against top flight corners. Have fun, Jets fans. They're 6-10.
Hey, by the way, shout out to our dude Cortland. Welcome aboard once again, my friend.
Cortland, what's going on, bro? All right. So, final team in the division is the Miami Dolphins, or the Miami Ray Finkles, the Miami team down in Miami, otherwise known as the spot where Tua Tagovailoa will be starting pretty soon. Kyle, where do you have the Dolphins?
You know, again, I think we're once again in a place where I don't share in your pessimism. I believe you have them repeating last year's performance at 5-11. 5-11. Am I correct?
I do.
Yeah, I can't sit here and tell you they don't improve. Granted, in your defense, their schedule is a weensy bit harder than last year. So if they go to 5-11 this year as well, that's a marked improvement. Granted, people who are less in the know may think otherwise, but that's where I sit. I see them at 7-9 though, but let me tell you why. Their defense is going to be better than it was 0-18. Listen, we're not talking about the Washington football team. Take it easy, Cortland. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. No. First of all, if we're talking about spare names for Miami, it's the Miami Laces, okay? And you're all saying they're out. And me too, when it comes to the playoffs, you're right. But say what you will about the Dolphins. They've made improvements. They're trying to do things right. I would have liked to see them get a hold of Tristan Wirfs on the offensive line. Tampa didn't let that happen. That's cool. I get that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be the guy of the future. I get that. He's not ready yet. They got Fitz to make sure he doesn't get murdered. I get that. And listen, Fitz will be good for a few games here and there. Perhaps you remember last year, a team that was tanking still went 5-11, right? But I get your pessimism. I just can't be as pessimistic just because I've seen too much improvement in the roster, and it's better this year than last year. Simply put, Danny.
Okay, here's the issues I have with the Dolphins. Yes, Tua Tagovailoa is the guy that you look at the roster. He's going to be the quarterback. Listen, Ryan Fitzpatrick will win a few games here and there. Okay, that's going to be is what it is. Ryan Fitzpatrick might win week 1. He might win week 2. But Ryan Fitzpatrick does what Ryan Fitzpatrick does. He gets you excited, and then guess what? He lets you down. It is what it is. You're right. He is basically the stopgap so Tua Tagovailoa doesn't get killed in week 1. Here's the problem. By the time Tua gets into this thing, they might be 1-7. They might be 2-8 by this point. 2-7. Okay, before you pull the Tua experiment, because remember, if he's not 100% ready to go and feeling confident after the injury, there's no way you're going to have this kid get shocked. The Dolphins did improve the defense. I will give you that. They really improved the defense, especially in the secondary. You got 2 top flight corners, Byron Jones. I think it'll be way better than what people give him credit for. Was he worth the money? We'll find out pretty soon.
We about to learn today. That's right.
We about to learn really quickly. The Dolphins, they have the highest paid duo of corners in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. They should be shutting them. Peter King has won the division. Well,
hey, get Peter King out my face. Listen here, James Robinson.
Peter King, listen. Peter King, Peter Griffin, Stewie Griffin, they're still 5-11. All right. Listen, the Dolphins play in a division where, all on top of that, the other part of the Dolphins that I'm really worried about is the running game. Okay. Matt Breida. They brought in Matt Breida from San Francisco. That's great. Matt Breida has never been an every down back. Jordan Howard, great, but Jordan Howard can't seem to keep his job long enough because he hasn't been a full season starter. I couldn't even tell you how long. Somehow, every time Jordan Howard gets a job, Jordan Howard loses it before the season's even over with. Is either injuries, poor play, or just doesn't get it done. The Dolphins are 5-11, but here's the thing: they're 5-11, but they have a chance to be better than 5-11. They could be 7-9, Kyle. I see 5-11. Let's just hope Brian Flores gets one more year. All right. He gets one more year to turn this thing around. I think they could be a 500 team or better next year. They still need more weapons, especially at the receiving core. Nothing against Devontae Parker, but if you have a first-round quarterback, you need to have a number 1 wide receiver to go with him.
Yeah, that's a great point, Danny Thompson. And listen, while Gesicki's developing at tight end, I think they're looking for him to break out this season as well. And listen, you make a great point about the running backs, Danny Thompson. I'm not going to lie to you. Listen, they keep either losing pieces or having pieces with injury or having pieces get unhappy, whether it's Jay Ajayi or Kenyon Drake. The Kenyon Drake train is still one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Can we be abundantly clear on all of the above? But I'm not as optimistic as the Dolphins at 8-8, but Cortland makes a good point. Brian Flores can coach a team. And the running back core being in disarray, listen, I appreciate that. All that means is that they become a committee, and they do it like, listen, committees are the thing of the current time and day. Once that was the future, the future is now. There's not many horsebacks out there. I mean, listen, Todd Gurley should be your main example there, right, Falcons fan?
Listen, we'll leave the Falcons alone for a few minutes. All right.
Oh, I'm not talking trash. I love that they got him as part of a committee. That's my point.
All right, let's shift gears to the AFC North now. We've already done the AFC. We've already done the AFC East. Let's go down to the AFC North and get the AFC North down there. As you see what my predictions are at the bottom. Kyle, let's start with the team that I think we both agree that won the division, which should be the Baltimore Ravens.
I mean, it's hilarious. We're one game apart on the Ravens, and we have them both winning the division.
I have them at 12-4. Kyle, you have them at 11-5?
No, I have them at 13-3. I'm more optimistic than you.
Okay. All right, Kyle. 13-3 is a big number.
Yes,
what makes you the Ravens? What do you think the Ravens will go 13-3 this year?
Simply put, Lamar Jackson learns touch. He gets a little bit better. Okay, that's all he needed to do to get another win on that docket, right? I mean, not to mention here. Let's go through the pieces, shall we? Coaching is great. Their quarterback's awesome, and Marshall Yanda has yet to retire. He'll be fine running and throwing the damn ball. Yes, Rodney, we agree. Crown them. They got the AFC North. Not to mention the rest of the division has taken a step back, except for Cleveland, who only makes themselves just mid-tier at this point. Hashtag I said it. The offensive line, the defensive line, Calais Campbell's a goddamn upgrade, whether you like it or not, folks. The defense got better. The offense got better. The coaching's still great. Danny Thompson, what more do I need to tell you?
Here's how I'm at 12-4. because somehow, some way, the team I have below them will be a little bit better than what people think them out to be. And we both have them at the same spot. The one thing with the Ravens is that, listen, if they get Antonio Brown at receiver, they can get him to come after his suspension once they get this thing cleared. That's the one thing Lamar Jackson needs is a vertical threat down the field. Listen, Mark Andrews is arguably a top 5 tight end in the NFL after one full season. Lamar Jackson's can run. They went and got J.K. Dobbins to help out with Mark Ingram in the backfield, so they're loaded back there. Listen, the team has potentially 3 guys that can rush for over 600, 700 yards this year, and Jackson's going to get 1,000 by himself. I've always questioned the wide receiving core. We learned this in the playoffs. Until they can get a vertical threat down the field that's not Mark Andrews, it's not going to be a deep threat, but it's not going to be a long-term situation. But it's Lamar Jackson. He has a chance to win MVP over again. And like you said, Calais Campbell, that defense, ooh, boy. Ooh, Nelly.
Listen.
And Matthew Jordan on the team's good.
Yeah, here's what I'll ask you, and then I'm actually building on the point that Cortland's making below, right? You know, people, first of all, you don't figure out Lamar Jackson. Let me be clear. With all due respect to our good friend Cortland, that's a nutty statement. You first have to have the proper defensive staff to, quote, execute a plan where you have him figured out. The way you figure out Lamar Jackson is you have a balanced defense that can do everything. Not every NFL franchise has that. Let's be clear. Also, let's put it this way. As much as you are a Panthers detractor as a Falcon fan, Danny Thompson, what I imagine this team to be is the Super Bowl bound Carolina Panthers that we saw, with one distinct difference. They have a good offensive line. Would you disagree?
I think here's the thing. You're talking the Cam Newton Carolina Panthers?
Correct. Of 2015.
Okay.
No, I think they're the ones that lost. Oh, wait, they both did.
They both did. But the ones with Jake Delhomme in the Bojangles commercial actually lost by out of bounds field goal.
Correct.
The one with Cam Newton never showed up in that game.
That's a separate issue, with all due respect.
So comparing those two teams, I see a lot of the same comparisons of Lamar Jackson being Cam Newton. But the thing is, I think the offense, a talent around Lamar Jackson, I think is a little bit more than what Cam Newton had around him.
I agree.
You compare Greg Olsen to Mark Andrews. I think Andrews is a little bit better than Greg Olsen at that point. The running game is much more solid, and I think the offensive line of Baltimore is better than Carolina's that year.
Thank you.
The only thing Carolina has over Baltimore is that, as much as I make fun of Ted Ginn for dropping passes, Ted Ginn does stretch defenses.
He does. You're right.
So when he does catch the football in stride, you're not catching him. It's just that simple. It's the fact of can the ball, and not to mention, I'll get this: Lamar Jackson is more accurate than Cam Newton is.
Yes, we're on the same page.
So I have him at 12-4 because here's the thing: the reason why they're 12-4 because the team that finished the second is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think they'll be a lot better than what they were last year. And Kyle, I think we both have them in second place this year.
We do, and I'm actually shocked I got there myself. But you go first, my friend.
Pittsburgh. I have Pittsburgh at 9-7, and here's the thing: the difference is Ben Roethlisberger's healthy. All right. Yes, the question is his shoulder. We all know about the shoulder situation with Ben Roethlisberger. He did not have surgery, and remember, they were running Duck Hodges, Duck Dodgers, Daffy Duck. A guy getting hit, Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett's helmet. They had everybody and anybody playing quarterback for the Steelers last year, and they almost made the playoffs.
Or as I like to say it, a duck and a reindeer, right? Because Rudolph, you see what I did there? Anyway.
I get that. And they both, and then just like that joke that some people get, it didn't work very well.
Oh, you know what? I know you threw some shade at me. I'm still going to clap for you. That was good.
It didn't work. Duck Hodges is gone. Mason Rudolph, I don't even know if he's still on the roster, but they bring back Joshua Dobbs. But here's the real thing. With Ben Roethlisberger being healthy, that means Juju Smith-Schuster becomes alive again. He might be the comeback player of the year, even though he played all 16 games last year. Because he was a non-factor last year. He was there for 16 games. You didn't even know he was there all season. The ball wasn't thrown to him. It pretty much, and Ben gets him the ball. On top of that, with Ben throwing the ball healthily, that means James Conner doesn't have to take a pounding again.
There you go.
James Conner can stay relatively healthy. The defense. Listen, the acquisition of Minka Fitzpatrick was well worth way more than the first round pick. You move him to safety, and guess what? He turns into a Pro Bowler. TJ Watt coming on the outside, Cameron Hayward, who just got paid. Pittsburgh has got players on all three levels of defense. Your line, your linebackers, and guess what? You have somebody back in the back running things in the secondary. Don't forget about Bud Dupree on defense. And guess what? We all know Mike Tomlin can coach. I got him at 9-7 only because I think it's going to be a little bit of rust the first couple of weeks for Roethlisberger, but they'll catch fire towards the end of the season, and that's why I got him at 9-7.
Hey,
Kyle,
listen,
why you got him at 10-6?
How can I diss you, Chief? I got him a game better than you. Again, we're not butting heads. It's just a slight difference. But, I'll put it this way. Whether they go if they go 9-7 versus 10-6 in my docket in the AFC, they still make the damn playoffs because the AFC in the NFL is similar to the NBA East. Hashtag I said it. But well, here's what I'm getting to, though. The one question is this. If I were to put a risky prediction, there are two very risky predictions in my docket that I'm willing to point out, and this is one of them. I don't know that Roethlisberger lasts an entire 16-game season. What I picture happening in this scenario is they do go 10-6, they get that playoff spot, but they look like the year that Derek Carr was fighting for an MVP spot with the Raiders, then got hurt, and Connor Cook was their starting quarterback and lost the playoff game. I think that's the situation that you'll see with the Steelers, is that Roethlisberger will get hurt later in the season. They'll still get 10 wins because Mike Tomlin's great. That defense is awesome, and they have enough to do some damage on offense, but they won't do anything in the playoffs. And I love, listen, Ben Roethlisberger is a quarterback I adore. Maybe not a great character guy throughout his career. I get that. But he's a quarterback. I think gets the job done, and I think he'll do enough to get them to 10-6 in a division that, for the most part, other than Baltimore, has taken a step back.
Speaking of teams that's finishing third in the division, a team we both have third in the division, but we're a little different on this one, is the Cleveland Browns.
That's right.
And Kyle, I have him at 9-7. Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them at 7-9. And listen, it's not that we're wide apart. The answer probably is that they go 8-8. But listen, while they've improved that offensive line, even our good friend Lamont Broadus, as much as he's going to want to throw things at me and make fun of me instead of your big head this time, I put big head in air quotes because I still don't understand why he says that, but whatever. Maybe he's just jealous that you look better bald than he does. What I'm trying to say is this, Danny Thompson, is that's me supporting my co-host if I've heard it. Anyway, I saw the dab. Don't act like I didn't see that. But listen, the Browns on offense are great. They're on defense, they're improved. But listen, that's a vegetarian offense if I've ever seen one. You know what I mean by that, Danny Thompson? No beef. And by the way, they're transitioning to a new coach as a first-time player. Let's do what we can here. But I just don't think the Browns are quite ready yet. With all the defensive improvement that we've seen for Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the point is this. His name is Baker, but the heat he'll face from a defensive line in that division is hotter than any oven he would experience. Danny?
So here's the reason I had the Browns at 7-9. All right, Kyle.
You got them at 9-7. You mean
9-7? Here's what I have it. You have it 7-9. I have it 9-7. All right. Here's why I have them at 9-7. Mm-hmm. All right. They've given Baker Mayfield every piece of offensive weapon you possibly could find.
So
they went out and spent the most money at the time for the tight end in Austin Hooper, on top of David Njoku. You already have guys like Odell Beckham. You have Jarvis Landry. Basically, the Cleveland Browns, you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. The Cleveland Browns are the Noah's Ark of the NFL when it comes to offense. They have 2x2 at every position.
I love that point by you.
They have 2 of everything. The question is, can the quarterback be like Noah and be patient?
I don't think so.
If Mayfield can be the player and still maintain his sense of swagger, but plays in control, as we've learned at flashes last year, he can hit Beckham down the field. The best part about it is Odell Beckham was hurt last year. He is saying he's 100% healthy and ready to go. If he is anywhere close to the Odell Beckham that was in New York and why they traded for him in the first place, Jarvis Landry goes under, Odell goes over the top. And in the AFC, Austin Hooper can make plays and David Njoku is super athletic. They do all of that. Myles Garrett is not suspended. His head's in the game, and he just got paid. He's outside of Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett might be the most disruptive defensive lineman in the entire NFL, not named Myles Garrett. Not named Aaron Donald. Listen,
I don't know about all that, but he is good.
He could arguably is the most disruptive, not the best. I said the most disruptive because I think the best defensive end in the league could be Chandler Jones in Arizona, and I'll get to that later on. Hey, listen, it's legal now. Ask Josh Gordon. All right. The problem with Baltimore is that now also the thing with Cleveland is that they have a new head coach and Kevin Stefanski is going to be able to run the football. Mm-hmm. Hey, Nick Chubb was second league in rushing yards. It was successful.
It was.
Play action pass is going to be huge, over the top. The question is, outside Myles Garrett, that defense is still kind of shaky. And a division that has all three teams are different when it comes to offensive weapons. So Cleveland has to be able to adapt to three different offenses. Do you have enough with Joe Sherbert gone? Who is going to inspire Lamar Jackson? When Ben Roethlisberger is throwing the offense, do they have enough corners? And we don't know what the Cincinnati Bengals are yet because the Bengals don't know what they are. They're LSU up north. We don't know what they are.
No, there aren't even that yet because Joe Burrow hasn't had a preseason, but I digress.
Exactly. So you don't know you don't know the defensive wise. I got them at 9-7. They have potential to be 10-6. They have potential to even make things interesting with Cleveland till December, or to Baltimore until December. They can be interesting until December. I think they fall apart in December anyway. Hey, 9-7 is where I got them.
You can be interesting until December and still have a 7-9 record. The only thing that you haven't answered for in your excellent rundown, might I add, there's not a damn thing I'm disagreeing with you on other than that Myles Garrett thing, but you clarified that, so I'll let you pass. But again, the one thing you didn't address was the one concern I really have over everything else. That coaching is going to be the difference between 9-7 and 7-9. I just don't see it. They got to show me something.
That's the thing. Can the defense, the coordinators, and everybody in the new staff help get over the hump and also keep Baker Mayfield in check? All right.
We are agreeing way too much, Danny Thompson. This is trash.
Speaking of agreeing, we agreed on this pick as well, too. Whoever's finishing last in the division is the Cincinnati LSU Tiger Bengals. All right. Listen, the Fighting Joe Burrows are going to finish last in the division. I have them, I think, a nice, wonderful 5-11 this year. All right. Kyle, how'd you have them?
I don't even share your optimism. I'm going 3-13. Joe Burrow, listen, I met the kid. I like the kid. He has a right attitude, and it's ironic that he is a Tiger, yet he is being thrown to the wolves. I don't think this offense is going to produce a damn thing, and it's not Joe Burrow's fault. This is a kid who's going to have no preseason in a team that's rife with defenses that will precisely whip your entire ass. So I don't really see him doing well. Now, we'll talk in 2021, but for now, they're going to suffer.
And you know what, Kyle? This is the reason why I have them at 5-11, because they're going to shock a few teams the first couple weeks of the season because they don't know what to expect. Joe Burrow's been working on an offense on a daily basis since day one. They might come in and win a couple of games to surprise everybody, but then once you start getting into right around Halloween, that's when everybody tees off on Joe Burrow. Okay,
that's a good point.
You guys, because there's no game tape to study him the first 3-4 weeks of the season. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. AJ Green's healthy. You also have Tyler Boyd on the outside, and Joe Mixon is ready to go. The only thing missing is Tyler Eifert, but hell, Tyler Eifert ain't been on the field any damn way, so it doesn't matter whether he was playing or not.
For that matter, hey, listen, let's be honest. Neither is AJ Green all that much. Can he stay healthy?
Listen, AJ Green has got a contract he's playing for, so AJ Green is going to stay healthy. AJ Green wants to be paid up there with the DeAndre Hopkins. He wants the Julio Jones money. He wants the Michael Thomas money. Yeah, he's a little bit older, but you kind of get where I'm coming from. AJ Green, when healthy, is a top 5 receiver. To your point, Kyle, he ain't been healthy. But Joe Burrow is going to put up numbers because the Bengals are going to be from behind most of the season anyway.
Excellent point.
The Bengals defense? Yeah, okay. All right, Kyle, what are your thoughts on the Bengals?
Listen, no, hey, I laid it down. I'm not going to improve on that. Let's move on, bro.
All right. Last but not least, in the AFC, we're talking the AFC. Second last but not least, the AFC South.
By the way, if you didn't read Danny Thompson's article on the AFC South on the 3-point conversion, get a hold of your life and read it. Moving on.
Yes. So I wrote the article, the 3-point conversion on the AFC South. So I'll give my thoughts in a second on the division. Kyle, we'll start with the Tennessee Titans. They're the team that won the division last year. They fell one game short of the Super Bowl. I have met 10-6 win the division. Kyle, where do you have them?
Damn, bro, we're one game apart again. I have them at 11-5. Listen, it's odd. When you're a division winner, your schedule typically gets more difficult the next year. I don't feel like that's what happened here for the Tennessee Titans. And listen, as much as people want to quit, yes, fine. I agree with you, Cortland. The ish happens. No, listen, I talk that trash, bro, but listen, you and I have agreed on a couple points. Listen, and your Tennessee Titans are going to win the division. Bottom line, listen, I don't have to like the Titans to understand they're going to win this. Anyways, so but what I'm trying to say is this. Derrick Henry, but I don't think he's going to have to do as much this year. Why, might you ask? Hi, Precious. By the way, can we talk about how she has an excellent choice in eyeglass frames? I know that's a random thing to compliment, but listen, a quality fashionista is one who knows how to do her accessories. And that's all I'm saying, Danny Thompson. Moving on. So at any rate, listen, the Titans talk all this about Derrick Henry. And man, Cortland, I've never been called a spirit animal before, but I'm pretty damn sure that's the best compliment I've gotten thus far in 2020. Let's be clear. Anyways, no, but the Titans, people are going to start to expect Derrick Henry. And listen, as a guy who's written for the Dolphins Wire the past 2 seasons, maybe into the third one, depending on how things go, I'm not really understanding how Ryan Tannehill with protection doesn't win some of these games. They're going to load the box. There's probably an inappropriate analogy here that I won't use, but they're going to load the box with as many guys as possible. And Ryan Tannehill will have a simple time finding the open man with that long shot, probably to A.J. Brown, with all that protection that he didn't have in South Beach. Okay? It's very simple. 11-5. Boom.
Well, here's the reason why I have them at 10-6 and winning the division as well too.
One game worse. Yeah,
I know exactly. So listen, you mentioned the point about being the fashionista. You go talk pressure her glasses being a fashionista, and it's always a trend. Well, last year's trend was Ryan Tannehill joining the nation, getting in the country spotlight, and getting paid. This year for the Titans, it's not Derrick Henry. It's not Ryan Tannehill. It's AJ Brown. Why?
Okay.
Listen. Tennessee has not had a number one wide receiver to cause havoc around the field since Derek Mason. The one thing between AJ.
Let's give Kenny Britt some credit, but again, he couldn't stay on the field either. He was always under suspension.
Kenny Britt is not scary, and he's not the size of AJ Brown. Okay, yeah. He's a big body and matchup nightmare. Okay, every quarterback needs a big body wide receiver. At times he doesn't have Terrell Owens' speed, but he has a lot of the same physical characteristics as one Terrell Owens. Okay, mm-hmm. He has very good separation, and guess what? Ryan Tannehill knows how to hit security blankets. If Ryan Tannehill knows anything, there's not a reason why you become a 70% passer in the NFL for not one reason. 70% completion percentage is because of the fact of, guess what? You know what you need to do. On top of that, to Cortland's point, I was about to get to that. Jadeveon Clowney coming on the outside. Clowney is one of the best run-stopping running backs or linebackers in the entire league. Guess what? In a division with a bunch of porous running backs, it's open season on running backs in that division.
By the way, I'm going to do an awesome segue like you do. My wife and I are currently watching the series Turn on. We're binging that. But the thing, what I'm trying to tell you is, in such a similar fashion to a spy, Jadeveon Clowney is going to get some insight to their biggest rival in the division, the Houston Texans. I think that's a big deal in and of itself, sir.
The other thing is that not adding Jadeveon Clowney allows Vic Beasley, who they brought in the offseason, to not only play on the outside, but also play a little bit of the end as well, too. Tennessee lost Jarrell Casey to Denver in the offseason, was an all-pro. Remember, Vic Beasley a couple years ago was all-pro, 15.5 sacks. Harold Landry on one side, Jadeveon Clowney. You have a nice little 3-man rotation when it comes to outside linebackers blitzing and making plays. On top of that, they have Kevin Byard in the secondary. Tennessee has all the weapons to make it successful. The reason why I don't have them anything higher than 10-6 is because Ryan Tannehill, for how good he is, if we get to a situation where we have to play gunslinger and shootouts, I don't know if Ryan Tannehill can have enough bullets in the arsenal. But if the Titans get up and they let Derrick, and you have to deal with Derrick Henry in the second half, good luck with that one. I'm not tackling Derrick Henry in the second half.
That's not a bad point. I mean, Tannehill has had some games where he's gotten big points, but there's not a lot of them. I agree with you there. But here's what I'll say. Who on their schedule is going to actually have a shootout with them? That is few and far between, my good friend.
But Rodney's point, Vic Beasley was an Atlanta bust. Here's the thing. Vic Beasley had 37 and a half sacks in Atlanta. He had 15 and a half the year the Falcons made the Super Bowl. The thing is, if he's coming in pass rushing situations, he's just fine. Was he worth that pick? Listen, you got an all-pro and a Pro Bowl in a 15-sack season. It is what it is. Not everybody works out in certain situations, but we've seen when he does have talent around him on the defensive side of the ball, it does work. And Beasley's not playing every possession, not every player play.
Correct.
He's playing on pass rushing situations, aka Dante Fowler, aka Josh Allen, of a guy in this division that was doing last year, playing in situations. I think he'll be just fine. The signing of Clowney makes the Titans even more dangerous. Continue the division.
Let me make it simple so Rodney can understand it. He ain't got to be the man, Rodney. You're not wrong. It's an odd place. I don't know what to do. You're right, and Danny Thompson's right. I don't want to vanquish the troll, but I also have to defend my co-host. I'm like conflicted.
I ain't worried about him.
I know
Nobody's worried about him. All right. Speaking of things not worried about, here's something he's got to be worried about. The Indianapolis Colts. I have second in the division at 9-7. Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them at 7-9, and the reason why I know you're going to ask me because you're a good host, so I'll give you the answer up front. I think the thing that kills them is Phillip Rivers' mobility, or should I say the lack thereof. Listen, I love Quentin Nelson at guard and plenty of that offensive line talent. The single most improved offensive line in the past two series is without question the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, ironically, right when Andrew Luck has to throw in the towel for the sake of his own bleeding health. But I don't think Phillip Rivers has enough mobility to keep that team alive when plays break. It's just simply that. The Colts defense is better, but they're not overwhelming. And listen, there's always a tough rivalry amongst most teams not named Jacksonville, but yet somehow the Colts always seem to beat the Titans up until lately. So basically, in short, I have them splitting the entire division. I think they're going 3-3. But at the end of the day, I think there's just too many difficult games. There's a lot of difficult games on the schedule for the Colts. I just don't think they have quite enough to be better than 7-9. I'm sorry.
And here's why I think they're 9-7. There's a couple of reasons why. I won't go offense. I'll start on the defensive side first.
Please.
Getting DeForest Buckner from the San Francisco 49ers was a huge addition. They traded their first round draft choice to get him. It starts with the interior of the defensive line. As Kyle, you've mentioned it before, it starts with the beef. You start with, listen, you got to go Omaha beef in the middle, and DeForest Buckner is Omaha beef in the middle. All right? And what's behind DeForest Buckner? The best middle linebacker in football in Darius Leonard.
I mean, in all of the NFL?
And the tackling machine that is Darius Leonard is the best middle linebacker in football right now.
Well, we'll agree in the division. How about that?
I think he's the best in the entire game. Nobody can go sideline to sideline like him. A combination of sideline to sideline tackling, staying healthy, putting up numbers, and impacting the side of the game that he does. Uh-huh. And think about this. Why was Ray Lewis so successful as a Baltimore Raven?
Because his availability?
Listen, how was he able to get back there? When you have talented defensive tackles that can cause pressure, it makes things easier for you. Darius Leonard is going to do that. Think about this as a division that you need as much help when it comes to tackling Derrick Henry as possible. You got to have that. Here's the thing, and Manny makes a point about Phillip Rivers being a turnover machine.
As did I.
And you said it in 2020, and a lot of people make this point. The reason why the Indianapolis Colts didn't make the playoffs last year because Jacoby Brissett couldn't throw the ball down the field anyway. All right. One of the main problems last year was, especially down the stretch, Jacoby Brissett could not hit receivers outside of 7 yards, which meant it was a lot of 3 and outs. It was a lot of forcing Marlon Mack to make plays and forcing the defense to do everything. The Colts had the 7th best rushing attack in the NFL last year, and not one of those guys hit 1,200 yards last year. They went out and got the running back from Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor. But Phillip Rivers is back there now. Phillip Rivers can sling the football. Yes, Phillip Rivers throws interceptions here and there. Guess what? It happens. But Phillip Rivers in San Diego didn't have this offensive line either.
So
the San Diego offensive line is not the same as what it was in San Diego.
So what I hear you telling me is you're evoking the Brett Favre defense to defend one Phillip Rivers, Danny Thompson. I can't disagree with your point.
Listen, T.Y. Hilton is healthy, but the drafting of Michael Pittman, the rookie from USC, is going to be even bigger. They have Jack Doyle at tight end. Yes, Eric Ebrams gone, but they have Jack Doyle at tight end. They'll be just fine. 9-7 is just fine because remember those games where Brissett couldn't hit Kyle wide open, he's going to hit receivers. If Phillip Rivers knows anything, Phillip Rivers can gunsling the football. And at 38, Frank Reich, who think about this, if anybody knows about comebacks and quarterbacks, it's Frank Reich anyway. Remember, he led the Bills to a comeback, and he also was the coordinator with, guess what, Doug Peterson when they won the Super Bowl. With Nick Foles as a backup quarterback coming in for Carson Wentz. I think this is a resurrection project that will be successful enough to have the ponies hightailing it and ponying themselves into the playoffs. All right, let's go. Next team in the division is the Houston Texans. The one team in the division that somehow wins the division, wins a playoff game, and gets exponentially worse in 3 months. They actually were beating the Kansas City Chiefs at one point in the playoffs, and they got exponentially worse. Bill O'Brien has taken apart this team faster than a child's taking away a Lego playset after putting it together. Gone, DeAndre Hopkins. Entering the building, David Johnson. When DeAndre Hopkins goes out the door, what do? They add 3 injury-prone wide receivers to combine as one receiver. If these 3 receivers, Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, and who else they bring in? I'm forgetting the other receiver they brought in. He was injured too because I can't remember half of them. If you bring all 3 of those injured wide receivers together, guess what? And you combine them into one receiver, you got one receiver as a top 10 receiver. None of them are DeAndre Hopkins. None of them have the relationship with Deshaun Watson. And guess what? They just gave Deshaun Watson, not Randy Watson, not Randy Orton, not Cowboy Bob Orton. They paid Deshaun Watson more guaranteed money in the first 4 years than Patrick Mahomes got. And you trade away his best target for a running back that can't stay healthy. Great. You also replaced Carlos Hyde. They had so many replacements in the offense. And here's the thing. Cooks can't stay healthy. Cobb can't stay healthy. And neither can Will Fuller. Strike 1, strike 2, 7-9. I don't care unless J.J. Watt's catching passes or J.J. Watt turns into T.J. Watt, which turns into the other Watt, which turns into light bulbs. Yes. 7-9. Kyle,
sir, I am wildly offended that you imply that his brother's already better than him. You out your damn mind.
I said you need to split them all and add them all together. Oh, okay. J.J. Watt, Derek Watt, Derek Watt, J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt, Watt light bulbs, Watson from Sherlock Holmes. All of them combined won't help the Texans get past 7-9. Kyle, I digress. On to you, sir.
First of all, let me be clear. The only thing Derek Watt has done with his brothers where he was on the same echelon was actually helping them MC the game of tag, okay? I'm just saying. But, no, hey, listen, my daughter loves that show. Don't talk trash. But what I say is this. First of all, that defense just by accident is amazing. Let me move my head to the side wide so you can understand, okay? And I'm not even a Texans fan. That's just a man crush that anybody who's an NFL fan should have. Moving on. So, and by the way, yes, he caught passes. He caught touchdown passes. And the year that he did that, he caught more touchdown passes than the Kansas City Chiefs' entire receiver corps combined. By the way, yes, I did rehearse that line. That line was done in my first episode of the Sports Symposium that you'll find on Hilarity by Default's YouTube channel. Thank you for that opportunity for the shameless plug, Danny Thompson. However, here's where I'm at. You can say what you want about Randy Watson. Deshaun Watson is sexual chocolate. I said it. So, him at quarterback doing damage. Listen, I'm not here to tell you that DeAndre Hopkins isn't a damaging loss. I'm not that stupid. But I am agreeing with Cortland yet again. They go 9-7. Maybe I am your spirit animal partner. If we're working together on the 3-point conversion, it's a great thing. But I think you are just. My opinion is, Danny Thompson, that you're not giving Deshaun Watson quite enough credit. Am I here to tell you that they're a world-beating team? Pfft, let's not be ridiculous. But I do think Deshaun Watson is a good enough quarterback in this lackluster division to lead his team to 9-7. Their defense is good enough even without Jadeveon Clowney. No offense to Jadeveon Clowney, has one of my single greatest moments. I've even thought about commissioning my man Aaron Evans to do a painting on that very famous hit we both know about in college. But I listen, I don't see, let's put it this way. Our commenters are echoing me incredibly well, which is flattering and scary at the same time. Philip Rivers throws too many interceptions, and you're not giving enough credit, in my opinion, to Deshaun Watson. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think it's Deshaun Watson I have the issue with. It's the fact that Deshaun Watson will have healthy receivers by the time we get to Charlie Brown's Halloween special. All right.
And to quote one of my favorite movies, The Matrix, once he knows he's the one, when he's ready, he won't have to.
Listen, Deshaun Watson is like Charlie Brown right now in Charlie Brown's Halloween special. And why I say that is because when he goes around and everybody's getting, Kyler Murray got a receiver, this guy got a receiver, and Deshaun Watson's got rocks.
You're awful. It's hilarious, but you're still awful.
Listen, Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, they're all injury prone. They're not going to finish the season.
They don't have to be healthy at the same time. That's what I think you're forgetting.
Okay, but you still got to stay on the field. There's a situation that all of them might not be on the field. Brandon Cooks will have a hot start, pull a hamstring, and he's done. All right? Randall Cobb hasn't been healthy since he's left Wisconsin.
True, but he won't be asked to do running back duties either.
Listen, it doesn't matter. You also have to think about Will Fuller. Is the fact that Will Fuller is great. He's a big up top of the threat, but somehow Will Fuller gets some kind of injury and it lags all the season around. Thank you, Deshaun. It's not the problem. It's the rust and revolver stuff with marshmallows.
Hey,
all right?
Both y'all are glazing over the fact. Y'all enjoyed me calling him sexual chocolate. Don't lie.
Listen, Deshaun Watson is feeling like Ralphie from A Christmas Story when he finally got the Red Ryder BB gun. He's going to shoot his eye out. All right? His receivers will force him to shoot his eye out because guess what? They're going to get hurt. Because think about this. When Will Fuller kept going down last year, when Kenny Stills was being inconsistent, who did he have? He had DeAndre Hopkins to throw to. It doesn't get any better than DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry. As much as I love Julio Jones, as much as I love Michael Thomas.
Even if you believe it does, it's only a little bit at that. I hear you.
All right, so let's talk about the final team in the division if we have to. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sure. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 5-11. I have them at 5-11. And Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them at 4-12. I'm even more pessimistic than you, my friend.
Well, listen. Here's what's positive in Jacksonville.
His name is Uncle Rico. That's about it.
Listen, the only thing positive in Jacksonville right now is they have two really, really good guys on the offensive side, on one of both sides of the ball. You have DJ Chark, Pro Bowl wide receiver on one side, and Pro Bowler Josh Allen on the other side.
True.
Problem is, Josh Allen has lost Yannick Ngakoue and Calais Campbell, which was his protection last year, and now he is a one-man wrecking crew. On the offense side of the ball, DJ Chark had a 1,000-yard season, ended up in the Pro Bowl last year. Yes, with Uncle Rico at quarterback. Well, Leonard Fournette's gone for some unexplainable reason. He was now shuffled out for a whole bunch of running backs that Terry Robisky, the running backs coach, couldn't name when it was coming to why did we get rid of Leonard Fournette? We have a great group of running backs. He couldn't name not one of them. Yes, how do you help How do you help Gardner Minshew? You got Tyler Eifert. We mentioned Tyler Eifert earlier in this segment. He's already hurt again. All right.
Bobby, where are those crickets? I'm just asking.
The one good thing Jacksonville will have is that fact of D.D. Westbrook is healthy, hopefully. And they also have up top Laviska Shenault from Colorado. Great. Uncle Rico will be throwing over mountains because that's the only way they make it the playoffs. All right. Jacksonville, Kyle, was 2 years ago, was in the AFC Championship game with one old Blake Bortles at quarterback. Mm-hmm. NFL has 22 starters. In a span of 24 months, only 6 starters remained from that team that was literally one series away from being in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. There's only one thing you can say about this, and to quote the poet Homer Simpson, duh. Kyle, ball in your court.
I'm glad that you mentioned Homer. He's going to come up later in our conversations when we go to the NFC. But what I'm trying to tell you is this, Chief. 2 of those starters that you name are ones that were in the tub and not helping the club on the field on the offensive line. The injuries to this group in the beef has been just awful. What's up, BS3? But what I'm trying to tell you is this. If that offensive line could still stay healthy, they're not making the playoffs, but we could be both very wrong in our pessimism, and I'll leave it at that.
Listen, fans, FYI, people have fantasy football drafts those next 2 days. Here's an FYI tip. If you draft Gardner Minshew in the first round and can prove it, you get a chance to get a case of Bud Light. That's all I'm saying.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
All right, last division in the AFC we're going to go with is the AFC West, otherwise known as Kansas City and the rest of them.
Here's the
All right, Kyle, I think this is pretty simple. I got the Chiefs at 13-3 winning the division. Kyle, how do you have them?
I actually, oddly enough, am more optimistic than you. I have them at 14-2.
Listen, there's not much more we can say about the Kansas City Chiefs besides the fact that it's defending Super Bowl champions. Their quarterback, star defensive end, tight end, all got paid. And guess what? They're all on team-friendly contracts, which means they can still resign everybody else.
I know, right? What more can be said, Danny Thompson? Shoot, leave me some analysis. I have nothing to say. Hey, didn't they do a great job on drafting that running back, Bud?
Isn't Bud like a double punishment? Watching Jaguar games might be a double punishment. Might be a triple punishment.
John Osmond knows about good beer like I do. He's not wrong. I'm leaving that out.
Listen, when it's free 99, it's free 99. It doesn't matter at this point. All right. Exactly. Here's the thing with Kansas City. They drafted Clyde Evans-Helaire in the first round in the NFL draft. Like, the rich get richer, the running backs get running backer. And guess what? The Chiefs are still chiefing. The only thing stopping Kansas City from potentially repeating again is the fact of Andy Reid allowing Patrick Mahomes to run quarterback sneaks in Denver. That's the only thing that's going to stop them. Okay. They're loaded everywhere. Everybody's healthy. Tyrann Mathieu is causing havoc as a honey badger. They have good linebackers. Chris Jones is back. I don't know what more you can say about the Kansas City Chiefs. And the thing is, they ain't going to beat you with defense. They're just going to outscore you.
There is a saying that says the best defense is a good offense, and the embodiment of that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defense was actually pretty damn bad at one point. They've gotten slightly better, but all that does is giving what is arguably, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the league, Patrick Mahomes. And I'll leave it at that. Hey, whoa.
Hey, listen, it might be the most fans the Jaguars have all season anyway. All right, so we'll
I think they need so much beer. They ain't trying to watch the damn game. Moving on.
Beautiful stadium, by the way. All right.
Nice.
Now, Kyle, who do you have second in the division?
Who do I have second in the division? Just by accident, the team that has rallied their defense and is suffering from what I call the Drew Lock parable. I have the Denver Broncos at 6-10. Listen, I have no other teams with a winning record in this division, and they're all pretty damn awful. I have 6-10 from the Broncos. I have Las Vegas at 5-11 with the Raiders, and I have the LA Chargers at 4-12, trying to convince me that Justin Fields can do the job. I'm not there. This division is a waste of my damn time, and they have become the new AFC East. Hashtag I said it. Moving on.
All right, so I have the Broncos at second, but I don't have them at 6-10. I actually have them at 8-8. Listen, Denver has a defense.
Okay.
AJ Boye on the outside. You got AJ Boye for a full season. Von Miller's going to like Von Miller. And listen, what they did, what the Broncos did that the Jets and other teams have not done is they surrounded their young quarterback with weapons everywhere.
True.
Okay. Cortland Sutton on one side, receiver Jerry Jeudy, who they got in the draft. KJ Miller, kid from Penn State, at wide receiver in the slot. They did all that. They got Noah Fant at tight end, and then they went out and got Melvin Gordon to go on top of the fact that he had Philip Lindsay in the backfield. They have a pretty solid offensive line. Now it's on Drew Lock to get it done. Listen, they have the right pieces on defense, and they could win a game into this division. Outside, they're not going to be Kansas City because Kansas City will blow them away, unless Kansas City doesn't care.
You're asking Drew Lock to out-gunsling Patrick Mahomes. That's not fair.
Listen, but I can bet on Drew Lock out gunsling Tyrod Taylor, Justin Herbert, Justin Bieber, the Chargers mascot, whatever you have playing for the Chargers, Dan Fouts, the ghost of Philip Rivers, anybody out there, and I think he could out gunsling David Carr, Automobile Carr, Antoine Carr. Listen, any type of cars.
Out gunsling David Carr. Way to set that high bar, Danny Thompson.
Exactly. That's why I have Denver at 8-8 right now, because guess what? They're going to win some games as well too. Now I have the Chargers at 7-9. Somebody's got to be third in this division. All right, Tyrod Taylor is the perfect stopgap quarterback. He is the Teddy Bridgewater. He's the guy that's going to transition this team from Tyrod Taylor into the Justin Herbert era. All right, we're going to see Justin Herbert at some point in the season. Can he outgun Marcus Mariota? Can't gunsling himself because he can't. He's on IR right now, so it doesn't matter. All right. The reason why I have the Chargers ahead of that team in Vegas, the Raiders, is because this. Keenan Allen is still an elite, a top flight receiver. All right. And Keenan Allen can make plays down the field. So what happens with a quarterback that can make plays, a quarterback that needs playmakers and can move, you need a playmaker at receiver. All right. Also at the same time, they also get back the tight end, Hunter Henry. He's finally back and being healthy. You have two good targets, and Austin Eckler can catch the ball in the backfield. It's way more weapons and consistent weapons, and not to mention Bosa on defense. The loss of Derwin James is going to hurt once again, but Derwin James wasn't there last year. Joey Bosa is going to Nick Bosa is going to cause havoc once again on the defensive side of the ball, and all with Ingram as well too. I got him at 7-9. Kyle, how'd you have him?
So here's what's got me rubbing my temples for the people at home. You're going to talk about injury risks and then leave Keenan Allen off the list. That's adorable, bud. But
he puts even when he's hurt, he still puts up numbers.
Okay, legitimate. But I have them at 4-12, just behind the Las Vegas Raiders at 5-11. Listen, all we're miring over at this point, you and I, is how much mediocrity there is in this division. So I'm not even trying to argue with you. We're already more than an hour in. Can we please move on to the damn NFC? Because you're depressing me talking to you about the NFC West.
Let me talk about the Raiders real quick, and I'll make this about a 45-second conversation because that's how long the season's going to last. Please. Listen, the Raiders got rid of Prince a corner. Damon Arnett, the guy they drafted in the first round, is at the starting cornerback. In week 1, you have Carolina and their receivers. Have fun with that one. Darren Waller is a really, really good tight end. I like Darren Waller. And Josh Jacobs had a really good second half of the season, and I think he's going to be a nice little addition at the running back game. They're starting Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver. I think this conversation is over. David Carr will be shuffled out the door, and they're getting clever for Trevor. All right, we're done with the AFC. Let's now go to the NFC.
Wait, hot take by Danny Thompson. They're getting clever for Trevor out in Las Vegas. If they do, that's not a bad idea.
You're okay. May say the Raiders. No, Von Miller is better than anything on the Raiders roster right now.
Roster is better than the Broncos and Chargers. You've been reading too much Peter King, James. Sorry. Moving on.
No, it's the thing. He's a Raiders fan. Von Miller is better than any.
Explains to the exact degree that he's wrong. Take the goggles.
Von Miller is better than anybody on all three of those teams. Von Miller can win games by himself.
Compared to his previous performance, my dude has been on the back of a milk carton. Let's be real.
Listen, Von Miller still had 10 sacks last season.
And?
Listen, 10 sacks is 10 sacks. Double digits is double digits. I can't name a Raider with 10 sacks.
Ooh.
All I know is David Carr's on his back half the time. All right, Derek Carr, David Carr, Austin Carr, Antoine Carr, Bob Carr in Orlando. It doesn't matter. They're still 5-11. All right, let's talk about something that's a little bit more uplifting. Let's go to the NFC, and let's start with the NFC East. Okay, never mind. All right.
What was wrong with you?
I said maybe I was wrong. All right. 4 teams in the division. 3 of them have nicknames. The other one doesn't. All right. Let's start with the team I have winning the division, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys win the division by default. All right. And here's why I say it's default. I don't think Dak Prescott and the boys will fall apart in the month of December like they did last year. All right. For Dak Prescott's sake and his contract's sake, he better not fall apart. All right.
I think our good friend Kurt would agree with you, who's been in the past, my friend.
Listen, Dak Prescott is trying to get what Deshaun Watson just got, and if your team falls apart in December again, it ain't coming. Listen, Dallas went out and drafted a number 2 wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb to go on top of Amari Cooper. Great, because Amari Cooper doesn't do good against number 1 wide receivers and puts up numbers against secondary corners. Good. CeeDee Lamb's going to go over the top. Michael Gallup goes to the slot. He's going to be galloping his way all season to about maybe almost 1,000 yards just from a slot receiver perspective. All right. Jason Witten's gone at tight end, but it really didn't matter because he wasn't there last year anyway. All right. They have good tight end play. Blake Jarwin's going to be a nice little solid talent. And guess what? Mike McCarthy is going to feed Zeke. That's the whole point. Play action is going to be key. Prescott's going to make plays. And Dallas improved the defensive line. Even without Gerald McCoy, they went out and replaced so many guys in the defensive line. Jaden Smith is a really, really good safety. Not a linebacker. I'm not really sure about Sean Lee's health, but he's never been fine. The real question is,
he was pretty good last year.
The question is, what can they do about replacing Byron Jones in the secondary? Dallas should win the division. I got him at 10-6. Kyle, how do you have him?
First of all, the secondary isn't something they need because they've really done a good job of upgrading their defensive front. I think you'll agree with that. The reason why I have the Cowboys at 7-9, first year 9-7, is because of McCarthy's arrival.
Had 10-6.
Excuse me. I beg your pardon. That represents a pretty big gap then as far as 3 games goes. The reason why I can't share in your optimism and my default setting is the Eagles and not the Cowboys. Granted, I love your winning by default statement. I have the Eagles winning the division by default at 9-7. So let me be clear. But I think the big problem, if they had a preseason, sir, you and I would be in agreement. Granted, I'd have them winning the division at 9-7 rather than 7-9. Or rather than the Eagles at 9-7, I should say. But there's just not enough time, I think, for this team to get ramped up and used to Mike McCarthy. Eventually, they'll appreciate that Mike McCarthy is better than the following. Okay? Thank you, sir. That's more of a golf clap, but I see where you're going.
Same thing.
Right? But at the end of the day, I just can't share in any optimism for the Cowboys winning the division for that one single reason. As why they may not be the best division, I can make a strong argument that they're most competitive division. And that's just where I sit. I mean, listen, this division records are as follows: 4-2 for the Eagles, 3-3 for everybody else not named the Washington Football Team.
All right, so in the second place in the division, you have as division winners. I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 8-8, and Kyle, you have at 9-7.
Oh boy, that's a big difference.
But Kyle, why do you have them win the division?
I have them winning the division simply because I think the Cowboys struggle more early in the season because of a lack of a preseason. Again, that's where I'm at. The Cowboys don't exactly have the simplest division to open this year, and they, where at the end of the day, listen. The NFC East has a bad draw. They face the NFC West, if I'm correct. So that's a rough gig. That's the football.
The AFC, I don't know, Kyle. The AFC West is not exactly outside of the 2 games against Kansas City. The games we play Kansas City, you might be able to win those other 3 games against the AFC West because the AFC West, like we just talked about before, ain't pretty.
No, sir. I mean the NFC West.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. Here's the reason why I have the Eagles at 8-8. All right. I love Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is a solid quarterback, but Carson Wentz hasn't been healthy the last 3 seasons.
You're injecting him getting hurt. I can't front on that.
All right, listen, he got hurt. Then Jalen Hurts got hurt in practice trying to chase down a wide receiver on an interception, trying to make a play on defense. Listen. The Eagles have been a mash unit for the last few years on both sides of the ball.
Fair.
I don't know if the Eagles' health. Carson Wentz has issues staying healthy. The receiving core hasn't been healthy. They went and got Jalen Reagor in the first round at wide receiver. Like I say, he got hurt in preseason. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't really been the cleanest bill of health. Deshaun Jackson, I don't think he's even on the roster. I can't remember if he is. But if he is, he's going to be hurt pretty soon too because he's been injury prone as well too. The Eagles did not address the wide receiving core in the first round, in the opening 2 rounds. They could have got another receiver, but they drafted Jalen Hurts. Why? Because last season, last 2 seasons, they've had to have backup quarterbacks finish up their season. Nick Foles, and they had to go find Josh McCown. it's not going to be a problem. The Eagles have a really good defense. Fletcher Cox and the guys are really, really good on defense. They went out and got Darius Slay to help in the secondary.
Yep.
Miles Sanders is going to be, I think, should have a very good season. But the problem is, if Jalen Hurts has to get in the game because Carson Wentz is hurt, I can't trust the Eagles more than 8-8. They're way better than the other two teams in the division. I don't know if like I said, the Cowboys aren't going to repeat last season. That's why I'm at 8-8. All right, let's start with the New York Football Giants. Kyle have them at 5-11. How you have them?
I'm not quite that pessimistic. I'm here 6-10. Listen, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are going to get their effort, but they still need to build just a bit more before I really think about them as competing in that division. And at this point, they need more defense. Their linebacker core is traditionally weak. I mean, can we talk about Chase Blackburn as a substitute teacher being forced to cover Gronk in a Super Bowl win? That's everything you really need to know, in my opinion. But, I mean, that's where I have the Giants. That's where I have them at. And we'll leave it at that. And Miles Sanders, of course, Cortland's supporting your point is Miles Sanders with the Eagles. And you know what? Loosely, I agree with them. Calling Wentz unreliable as an injury risk, I agree with them. But you both have forgotten that he did make it the entire regular season. He just got hurt in a playoff game. I mean, listen, he may be trending right to where he actually makes it in 16 games. I know. Roll your eyes all you want, Danny Thompson. That doesn't make me wrong, damn it.
Listen, all I gotta say is the Eagles have played how many? Eagles have played in 5 playoff games in the last 3 years, and Carson Wentz has thrown a total of 4 passes.
Listen, don't let your facts get in here and ruin this conversation.
All right, here's the reason why the Giants are 5-11. Of all the head coaches to find, they went and got Joe Judge. All right.
Oh no, Danny Thompson! I didn't know you could dunk.
Listen, they could have got Joe Judge. They could have got Judge Mathis, Judge Judy, Judge Wapner. They could have got. Listen, they could have got. Listen, Judge Mills Lane, Judge Jerry Springer. They could have found any other judge than Joe Judge as the head coach. No offense to him. Listen, you have Saquon Barkley, arguably the most talented running back in the league. You have really good receivers in Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. Daniel Jones is his second year, but you wouldn't go fire a special teams guy as your head coach and Jason Garrett run the offense.
I mean, it's
baseball Giants fans.
Offense, because let's be clear, John Harbaugh is a special teams guy technically, and he's all right.
Listen, but John Harbaugh's job isn't. Listen, John Harbaugh has a defense.
I mean, listen again with your facts. Damn it, Danny Thompson.
Dunk a donut. No, I'm about to get to the Panthers in a minute. Last but not least, the last team in the division is a team with no nickname, the Washington Football Team. I got them at 3-13. Kyle, how do you have them?
Listen, I have the Washington Red Tails even doing worse than you. I have 2-14. Listen, it's not Haskins' fault that he's on a team that really shouldn't have him starting. It's just the fact. Alex Smith is still on this roster having like 175 surgeries for a reason. You're not getting the job done, young man. I'm sorry. Not to mention weapons. What weapons? Listen, I could look under this table and find like clumps of lint that can do more as weapons as this offense has. And while I appreciate the drafting of Chase Young, that defense ain't all impressive that either. Danny Thompson, go ahead.
I actually kind of like Terry McLaurin. The Ohio State to Ohio State connection of Haskins and McLaurin was pretty successful last year. So I kind of like that. Here's the problem with the Washington Football Team. You can't name the running back. I mean, even though Antonio Gibson went to Memphis and he did a good job at Memphis, cutting Adrian Peterson, not the smartest move. Yeah, exactly.
I want the record to show that our friend Cortland's even more pessimistic than I am at 1-15. I mean, that's some Carolina Panthers-ish right there. Am I right?
It could be. So the other thing with the Washington Redskins defense, that you got Chase Young on one side, Ryan Kerrigan on the other side. You like the fact they can come off both sides of the ball. The problem is the Redskins still are the Redskins. The secondary, Ron Rivera, is going to take a while. But just remember, if Washington surprises people, it's because Ron Rivera has always had the ability to turn around teams in year number 1. He's done it everywhere he's gone. Ron Rivera's teams are way better than what they were the previous season. I'm not saying they're going to be much better. History's going to repeat itself. I'm just saying that he has a trend of doing this. If Washington wins more than 3 games, it could be surprising to a lot of folks this year.
He does just not have like Cam Newton. I'm going to point that out.
Listen. This is not here nor there, Skip. I'm just saying.
Skip.
All right. But the Washington Generals, the Washington Nationals, the Washington Redskins, the Washington Capitals, the Washington Red Tails, DC United,
just so
the DC.
I refuse to call them the Washington football team because that name sucks. I'm calling them the Washington Red Tails until I am thusly informed of a decent and correct nickname. Moving on.
Listen. I said it could be the Washington Wizards, the Washington Bullets, the Washington Nationals, the Washington Capitals, the Washington We Need a Football Team. All right. They're still 3-13. All right. Let's now go to the NFC North. Yes, let's go to the division that had the Green Bay Packers fall one game short of the Super Bowl because guess what? They ran into a team that stopped them from running the football. Aaron Rodgers and company fell short in their prediction of making the Super Bowl last year. And Aaron Rodgers actually had a pretty good season, even though he wasn't very accurate. Kyle, I have the division winner being the Green Bay Packers at 10-6. Kyle, where do you have the Packers?
You know what's hilarious is I have them at 10-6 as well, but I actually have them missing the playoffs at 10-6.
I have the Packers winning the division. Here's the reason why.
Please.
I know Packer fans are irritated just like everybody else, including Aaron Rodgers, no matter how much he wants to say it. The Packers didn't draft a single weapon offense and have never drafted one in the first round under Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
The last time they drafted a first offensive player was Aaron Rodgers to replace Brett Favre. Now Jordan Love was drafted in the first round to replace Aaron Rodgers. How good karma has affected everything. The reason why they're going to be so good again, the reason why Packers are 10-6 this year, number one is, listen, Aaron Jones had a phenomenal season last year, 19 touchdowns on the ground, but they went and got A.J. Dillon to be the backup. If you look at A.J. Dillon, the size of this kid, the kid is built like a tree. It's going to be ridiculously hard to tackle him. He has a lower body very similar to Saquon Barkley. He might not be as fast as Saquon Barkley, but he has the same lower body style like Saquon Barkley. You have two backs that can do the job. And remember, Jimmy Graham's not on the roster anymore. It's not looking at passes all season. So whoever is at tight end can actually make a catch this season. Listen, Devontae Adams has moved himself into one of the 5 best wide receivers in football, and Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Charles Rodgers. The completion percentage was down, but I'm sorry, no matter how much you want to play about his completion percentage, he threw 26 touchdowns with 4 interceptions. Kyle, if you look at the last 2 seasons, he's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 2 seasons. Jameis Winston threw 6 interceptions in the first quarter last season.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And I'm sorry, like he threw 6 interceptions in the first series last season. Oh. That's just telling you something. The defense is going to be okay. They don't have as many playmakers, but remember, the Smiths, Zadarius and Preston Smith are still going to cause havoc among among quarterbacks all division. And a division where you have to look at quarterbacks such as Mitchell Trubisky, Matthew Stafford, who can't stay healthy, and Kirk Cousins. Do you like this? Who doesn't like the playoffs? Anything's possible. I got the Packers at 10-6. Kyle, why do you have the Packers at 10-6 missing the playoffs?
Well, because the Vikings are still a fantastic team. Listen, I've said it constantly on this show and others that the Vikings are the best roster in the league, and arguably overall, except for one very important position, and that would be quarterback. Listen, I know they've suffered losses here and other pieces. Their defense is still amazeballs, and even though they lost Stephon Diggs, that offense is still pretty damn dynamic, Danny Thompson. You have to admit. I can't share in your pessimism about the Vikings. Let me be clear. I have them winning 13 games. They got a relatively easy schedule. And the reason for that is because of the Chicago Bears, sorry, Contra, and the Detroit Lions, who will finish better than the Bears in question. But at the end of the day, you have the Vikings at 9-7, sir. I have them at 13-3. The NFC North has a relatively easy schedule after this year. And one thing that the Vikings defense can do that the Packers can only dream of, even after they got annihilated by the damn San Francisco 49ers, is stop the run. They did precisely nothing to stop the run after that NFC Championship game. Am I getting loud? Yes. Why? Because this is the biggest failure of a GM office I've ever seen. You got your asses kicked all over the field by our team that all the hell over you and prevented you from getting the Super Bowl. And you did precisely nothing about it. Damn you, just on general principle, I'm not even a Packers fan. So yeah, I have
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Kyle Nash's take on being a wrestler with his shoot for the evening. All right. Here's why I had the Vikings at 9-7. The loss of Everson Griffin is going to hurt on the defensive.
Get me to understand this because I don't.
The loss of Everson Griffin is going to hurt on the defensive side of the ball. He is one of the better. It's going to hurt. I mean, you need pass rushing on that side of the ball. And the second part is, can Mike Haynes and company be able to control the receivers in the division? One thing that NFC North does have is they have really good wide receivers. Detroit has a very good duo, Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones Jr., who actually was really good last season. Golladay is an underrated monster, by the way. Allen Robinson, for as much as bad Mitch Trubisky was, caught 98 passes last season for over 1,300 yards last year. So Allen Robinson III, when healthy, gets the job done. We all talked about Devontae Adams a few minutes ago. All right. The problem with the Vikings I have, number 2, is Adam Thielen is your number 1 wide receiver. And yes, Adam Thielen is really good. Yeah. But Adam Thielen really, really made a lot of plays because Stephon Diggs was able to take you over the top. Not having a number 1 wide receiver on the other side, another 1B to the D as 1A, is going to hurt Adam Thielen's production. Kirk Cousins is also a question. Davin Cook is Davin Cook, and Davin Cook's going to have a phenomenal season. But losing your offensive coordinator to become the head coach of the Cleveland Browns is going to be also a problem. I don't know, and Kyle Rudolph is getting long in the tooth. He's older. He's not the same Kyle Rudolph that it was. Minnesota has a solid offensive line. I'm just not sure when you lose your offensive coordinator, especially like you said, a year where it's COVID and you have to make a lot of changes, losing a top flight receiver in Stephon Diggs. It just kind of worries me. 9-7 seems about right to me in this division. I got him at 9-7. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. All right. Here's what the Bears have. You have Khalil Mack, Roquan Smith, arguably one of the best set of linebackers, Dan Gervais, one of the best set of linebackers in the entire league. I cannot argue against that. All right. The Bears come to play on defense every Sunday. The Bears do a lot of damage in the defensive side of the ball. But there's a humongous but here. If they had any other set of quarterbacks in the damn NFL, I would consider this team a division winner. Allen Robinson gets it done at wide receiver. They have pretty decent running backs in David Montgomery and also Tariq Cohen. They have the ability to get Anthony Miller at wide receiver. They have the ability. They signed Jimmy Graham, depending on Jimmy Graham you get. They have the ability to make plays down the field, but the daggum quarterback situation is probably arguably the worst in the league. Mr. Trubisky will always be known as a quarterback that was taken in front of Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in the same class. Okay. Mitch Trubisky was fighting for his life and basically should be replaced by the time he should be in line to take over the starting job by the time the NBA season ends in October. All right. Mitch Trubisky's a turnover waiting to happen, and the Bears don't have much to say. The problem is they went out and got Nick Foles from Jacksonville. Instead of getting Cam Newton, they went and got a quarterback that you're thinking, hey, we got a guy that led the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But they realized they didn't remember and realized that every time Nick Foles has left Philadelphia, it ain't been pretty. Okay.
I'm doing this so everybody knows that I'm telling you to preach. Keep going.
Nick Foles was awful in the Rams. Mm-hmm. He was knocked out in Jacksonville.
Hey, man.
Mm-hmm. And was almost out of the league at one point.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man. Yeah.
So at this point, we're about to have a complete session here. I just need some music in the background. All I'm saying is,
where's my organ?
Yes, I need an organ, and yes, we need an organ right now.
Said. That's right.
Listen, unless Mitch Trubisky goes into full Jared Goff mode from 2 years ago, and I said full Jared Goff mode from 2 years ago, that got the Rams to the Super Bowl, not only will this be Mitch Trubisky's last year, it might be the front office's last year too. They all might be gone for this one. The Bears had every chance to go get Cam Newton. What is the difference? If Cam Newton is in Chicago right now, they win the division. Mm-hmm. The Bears have the best defense in the division, even better than the Vikings. They have everything you need. They just have arguably the worst quarterbacking situation that's not in Jacksonville and the worst in the NFC. It's too bad because their team is way better than 7-9, and 7-9 is being generous. Kyle, where do you have him?
Well, I have the Bears myself at 5-11. And, I'll tell you what, apparently I'm far more pessimistic than you. And listen, I'm not trying to expose anybody. It might cause a controversy. I did. But at some point, somebody in question did mention that they thought Trubisky was more of a quarterback prospect than Jimmy Garoppolo at one point. Again, I'm not trying to cause a controversy, but that's a comment I faced on Facebook at one point by somebody that tried to say that. Anyway, they still have that chance to get Cap. Listen, Cortland, I know you're telling a joke, but it might actually represent a damn improvement. What I find funny about Bears fans is they blame Matt Nagy for their failure, and what they don't understand is at some point, there's only so much time before the smoke dissipates and all you have left is mirrors and they get broken. And listen, I've met Mitchell Trubisky. He's a nice kid. He's just not the damn answer. And when Nick Foles can't even supplant him as a starter, that should tell you everything I need to know. Beyond me, listen to Danny Thompson's testimony here before the Oregon at the pews in question. And we'll leave it at that, man. You said everything else I would have said about the Bears.
All I gotta say is, if the Bears and their fans think it's a playoff appearance, stop it. All right, nope, stop it. All right, nope, no, just stop it. That's all I gotta say. Nope, I'm good. All right, last but not least in the division. Listen, speaking of gotta pass it, last but not least in the division is the Detroit Lions, who'll be passing the ball once again, 4-12 this year. Kyle, how do you have the Lions?
4-12. Damn, that's some pessimism. I have them at least at 7-9. Listen, Matt Stafford, everybody likes to just dump on Matt Stafford. He's probably the most underappreciated player in the league. And I wonder what he would do if he ever had any of the following things: a consistent offensive line, a running attack and support that could stay healthy. And granted, Adrian Peterson's an improvement. But if you look at his record, let's be honest, folks, staying healthy, not his forte. See what I did there, Bears fans, mentioning Forte? Anyways, and at the end of the day, I'm not excited by his receiver core. Listen, Danny, I think you're right. They got some guys that are underappreciated, but they ain't Calvin Johnson, are they? I don't think so. And by the way, can you name me a Lions defensive starter?
Jeff Okudah. And that's because he was a third overall pick of the draft.
There you go.
Here's the reason why I have here's why I have them where they are. You made complete great points. All right. Number one, Matthew Stafford is the only quarterback in the NFL that has to deal with a Tecmo Bowl offensive line. And what is a Tecmo Bowl offensive line? It's that when you call hike and the defensive your defense calls the same play, you're running for your life trying to get rid of the football.
Oh,
Matt Stafford can't stay upright because guess what? They're saying he's an injury risk. No, he's an injury risk because his offensive line make him an injury risk. What's the one thing that helps a quarterback? A running game. Problem is, none of the running backs can stay healthy.
Joique Bell,
Kerryon Johnson, Kevin Smith. It's the curse. Reggie Bush. It's the curse of Barry Sanders. No running back can stay healthy. And guess what? They went in and got Adrian Peterson, drafted DeAndre Swift, and guess what? None of them are healthy. Poor AP is trying to catch Barry Sanders for fourth all time, but he's probably going to get hurt as well, too. Here's the one thing you don't give him credit for. Kenny Golladay is a monster. He is a monster. They have good weapons offense. Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones Jr., Danny Amendola, TJ Hawkinson at tight end. They have weapons. Lord knows they have weapons. Before Matt Stafford got knocked out last season with a back injury because nobody proceeded to protect him from the behind, Stafford was leading the NFL in passing yards, 20-yard completions, and was second in the league in touchdown passes before he went down.
I didn't know all that, bro. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know that.
Matt Stafford, listen, the Lions were playing 500 or more football. Stafford does make mistakes in the fourth quarter, but it's Matt Stafford for crying out loud. He kept them in games because guess what? The Lions are lioning. And Matt Patricia still has that damn pencil in his ear. All right?
Beard.
But here's what I will say. They'll be 4-12. Matt Stafford will probably be just out the door, as so is Matt Patricia, and that damn pencil as well, too.
Hey, you know what? At the end of the day, maybe the Falcons will cut Matt Ryan and bring him in. Your face right now is precious. I love it. Moving on.
It's precious. Funny. All right. Let's go. Speaking of Matt Ryan, the NFC South, let's talk about the NFC South.
Yes, the alleged best division in the NFL, which it isn't. Moving on.
It actually is the most exciting division in the NFL, dagnabbit, and we're going to start with this division.
Exciting isn't wrong. Best? No.
Listen, the top 3 teams in the division will make this division very interesting this year. Yeah. All right. There's 4 teams, and 3 of them will make this thing very interesting. All right. Listen. As far as quarterback play in the division, there's no division of football with a group of 4 quarterbacks better than this division right now.
I'll agree.
All right. When it comes to offensive units, there is not a division with a better group of offensive units than this
one. Okay. You're not completely wrong, I don't think.
And arguably, this is the only division in the NFL with none of the defenses are top 10, which means, AKA, the NFC South will be the Big 12 of the NFL this year because there'll be points everywhere.
So let me tell you what I often say about this division. They are what I call the prom date division. They know how to score, and they won't stop anyone from doing it. Moving on.
Listen, this division will be nothing but points. The question is, who will win the division? All right. It's a tough one, but because of the developments of the last week or so, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers edging out the New Orleans Saints to win the division. I have the Saints and the Buccaneers both at 11-5. Here's the reason why I have the Bucs over the Saints. Tampa had one issue when we started this whole thing 2 weeks ago, going into training camp, was what to do about the running. Yeah, and one major question was the running game. Yeah. Nothing against Ronald Jones, but he hadn't really proved anything in the NFL. He's a pretty decent pass catcher, a decent run blocker. A decent pass catcher. You can run the ball okay. He wasn't a guy that's going to scare you. All right. What Tampa went out and did was they took a guy that threw for 5,000 yards, threw for 30 interceptions, and threw 30 touchdowns, got rid of him, sent him down to New Orleans, made him eat gumbo. And there's I don't think there's any Publix down there, so there's no crab legs he could take on his way out the door. All right. What Jameis Winston left in the barrel was we left in the crab barrel was 2 all-pro wide receivers in Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Wow. All right. They had 2 really good tight ends in Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard. Enter Thomas Edward Brady. What does Tom Brady do? Like every other great player, he brings his homeboy with him, Rob Gronkowski, and brings him down there with him. The Buccaneers arguably have the best offensive talent in the entire league. Now they went out and got Leonard Fournette. They drafted Tristan Wirfs in the offseason to protect Brady. Listen, this is the makings of an offense that can score. The only issue with the Buccaneers offense is Thomas Edward Brady moves like molasses. Okay. The only thing that moves slower than Thomas Edward Brady is the line for It's a Small World at Disney up I-4.
I would also argue that Phillip Rivers moves slower, but that's a separate question.
No. Phillip Rivers is Usain Bolt compared to Tom Brady. Okay. Tom Brady moves like, to quote the famous poet Al Bundy. Oh God. Tom Brady moves like grandma through a herd of cattle. All right. If Tom Brady can stay upright, Tom Brady's never had weapons like this his entire career. He has
not since the year that he made it to the Super Bowl. Except for one giant loss.
No. This offense is better than that offense.
You think so? Okay.
He has way more weapons in this offense than he had in that Super Bowl offense.
I think he has a lot more run support here, but I'm not going to argue with whether or not it's
the receivers. No, yes, Randy Moss did all the damage, but remember, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are both 2 All-Pro wide receivers.
So you're taking Godwin over Welker, is what I hear you saying.
Easy. Okay. And then Scotty Miller comes across as a third. Scotty Miller is this version of Wes Welker because Tom Brady somehow turns grocery store employees into receivers. Yes. The Buccaneers are going to need help on defense, though. Devin White is going to have to be able to help Levante David, and he's really good on the secondary side of things. They got to be able to stop the pass. Otherwise, the Saints, who have second, is going to fall behind them. Kyle, who do you have winning the division?
You know, I'm not far off of you. I have the Bucks winning the division, and I have it just a smidge more optimistic than you. I have 12-4 and 11-5 rather than 11-5 tie, where a tie break would put the Pats over the top. And I think the key to it, actually, I'll mention this up front, they have a very key game against the San Francisco 49ers, where I just think they have too much offense to a team whose entire receiver core is on the damn IR, right? So
we can talk in a second.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, I really feel like that game is going to decide the division. I just pointed out for that reason. Both the Bucks go 12-4, but both the Saints and the Bucks go 4-2 in the division. That means somebody's getting swept twice. Not to mention any names, Rodney. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. Listen, you mentioned all the points. Also, the fact that you did not utter the name Tristan Wirfs is a travesty in itself to name them.
I miss the Tristan Wirfs. I miss the Tristan Wirfs they got in the offseason.
You know what? My bad, because the reason why I missed it is because you didn't refer to him as the pool man. So, listen, James makes a great point that the Saints may have the best offensive line in the division, but at the end of the day, Drew Brees is relied upon way too much at his age, and he cannot throw the ball consistently over 16 games. We've seen that. The reason why the Saints did this well last year is ironically because he got hurt. He had the opportunity to rest his arm. My man Rodney should know all about that, with Bridgewater doing what he did for the Saints and putting him in a position to swindle the Carolina Panthers out of the money that he did. But what I'm trying to tell you is this, Danny Thompson, at the end of the day, the reason why it's only one game apart is because the opening game, if I remember correctly, is the Bucks traveling to one of the more difficult venues in the NFC South, none other than the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, where they will lose their opening game simply because it's their first game out of the gate.
I disagree with the home field advantage because there is none, because there's no fans.
Nah, it's odd playing in that space, and I'll leave it at I'll put it this way. If they're at least at 25%, the Who Dat Nation is still an intimidating group.
I don't think Louisiana's letting people in that stadium on Sunday. I think it's fanless Sunday. I think that game is fanless as well too.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong there, but if I am wrong, that could lean right into your hands, and we're still agreeing at 11-5 apiece with the Patriots, the Bucks winning the division.
Here's the issue I have with the Saints. Yes, the Saints have Cameron Jordan on the defensive line. Is still one of the best. Still wreaking havoc. Demario Davis is arguably one of the best cover linebackers in the entire league. Tom Brady, Drew Brees is Drew Brees. Michael Thomas is still Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is still Alvin Kamara.
You're not going to mention Lattimore at corner? I'm just saying.
Marcus Lattimore at corner. The issue is that when they got Malcolm Jenkins in the secondary. Malcolm Jenkins is a little bit older in the tooth and still can't cover things. The problem is you have receivers that can go over the top. Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I can go on and on with receivers that can go over the top.
Who are these guys? I'm joking.
Just some of the best receivers in the league.
There you go.
The thing with the Saints is that Drew Brees is getting a little bit longer in the tooth, and the thing is, Alvin Kamara is not healthy, but Alvin Kamara is potentially being traded at this point. No one knows Alvin Kamara's situation. So they're still 10-6. 11-5. Sean Payton is still Sean Payton, and the Saints will somehow get in the playoffs. Not somehow they'll get in the playoffs, but I just got a feeling they end up with a dumb matchup, and we'll be talking about another controversy with the Saints being eliminated once again.
I agree.
All right, we both have this team in third place, but we have them in different locations. I have the Falcons at 9-7. Kyle, where do you have them?
I have them also at 9-7, but they're missing the playoffs. And all I can tell you is, if you have them in the playoffs, I have one way to pronounce to you.
What's that?
You are a homer. You notice
No.
You may or may not notice that I have the Simpsons team playing in the background to note how much of a homer, in fact, you are. This is not the best division in football. There's another division that will do better and be one game short of having their entire group have single-digit losses. We'll leave that in a minute. The Falcons' reason they don't make the playoffs is simply because there's other divisions in the NFC that are better. And I'm not trying to tell you the Falcons are bad, even though the fraud cons have disappointed so many people, including yourself, in the past. And I'm not even talking about a 28-3 deficit. What I'm trying to tell you is this. At the end of the day, there's too many better teams for the Falcons to make the 17 Cup. And I'll leave it at that.
The Falcons are a 9-win team because here's the thing: Atlanta knows how to score the football.
And again, I agree they win 9 times. Let's be clear.
Atlanta gets in the playoffs because here's the reason why Atlanta will outscore teams this year. The one thing Atlanta has also learned is, and they've learned this over the last few years, is the fact that Matt Ryan needs the ball in his hands at the end of the game because you can't trust the defense. It is what it is.
I agree.
It is what it is. Dante Fowler will give more production than what Vic Beasley gave last year. That's something we all know. The drafting of AJ Terrell is it's not going to take away the loss of Desmond Trufant. It is what it is. Keanu Neal has to stay healthy for Atlanta to win. Deion Jones is arguably one of the best middle linebackers, side to side covering linebackers in the entire league. That's what Atlanta has for him. And Matt Ryan in the offense, there's plenty of weapons to go around. You still have Julio Jones. You still have Calvin Ridley. Hunter Hurst is going to be, I think, a very, very solid replacement for Austin Hooper, who was a Pro Bowler last year. Hunter Hurst has got to stay healthy. Todd Gurley is an upgrade at the running back position because he'll actually be able to show up for the full season. Devontae Freeman didn't do last year.
Maybe.
Ito Smith. Listen, Todd Gurley's not asked to carry the ball 30 times a game in this offense. He's going to be asked to play a lot of the first and second downs and also do some pass catching. He's a better blocker and will also pick up blocks that Devontae Freeman don't pick up in the Super Bowl. All right,
hear that.
The offensive line is a little bit more healthier in Atlanta this year than normal. Atlanta's issue has been depth. It's always been that issue. As long as Matt Ryan stays upright, Atlanta has a chance to win 9 games. It's just kind of weak all the way around, and we'll talk about the NFC West in just a second. There's 9 wins on Atlanta's schedule. All right, it's easy. You play the AFC West. All right, automatically right there, that's 2 wins. That's 3 wins right there. You're going to win 3. You're going to win 3 times anyway against that division. Atlanta will beat Oakland.
Yes, you're going to win 3 times?
I'm sorry, they play the AFC West, don't they? I think it's AFC West this year.
Okay, you threw me off. I made the same mistake earlier. My bad.
Yeah. Atlanta should win 3 games against the AFC West this year. The only loss should be Kansas City. They should be Kansas City. Okay, Todd Gurley doesn't have any knees anymore. Listen, you're not asking Todd Gurley to run the ball 40 times. Remember, Todd Gurley was fine last year. All right, it's the fact of the Rams were paying Todd Gurley a whole bunch of money. He wasn't worth the money he was being paid. But for what Atlanta got him for, I think it was like $6 million. If he gives you 850 to 900 yards at $6 million, that's perfectly fine. It's way more production than you got with Devontae Freeman. Once again, you're not asking him to carry the bulk of the team because this is still a passing team. The only thing Matt Ryan needs to do is stop targeting Julio Jones so much outside of the red zone and start targeting him more inside the red zone. Last but not least in the division is the Carolina Panthers. I have them at.
You know who the real homer is? His name is Rodney. He has them winning 4 games. I have him winning 2. Get real, Rodney. Moving on.
Hey, listen, I had them winning 5. I'm being more optimistic than normal. Listen, Carolina will win 3 games against the division that's not their own, the AFC West. Carolina will get the majority of their wins against the AFC West. All right, this is a reoccurring theme here. All right, the AFC West will get beaten down by the NFC West all season. It's about to happen. Carolina will be okay in certain cases. Christian McCaffrey is still Christian McCaffrey. The only problem is Matt Rule is taking over as head coach. Nothing against Matt Rule, but a brand new head coach with a new offense with Joe Brady and everything else I didn't say it. Is a recipe. What they did do right in the offseason was they went and got Robbie Anderson. What they did do right was get Robbie Anderson. See, I'm trying to be serious here. They went and got Robbie Anderson on the outside to help DJ Moore, and that allows, yes, there is no roaring in Carolina this year. Curtis Samuel is going to be in the slot. All right. Christian McCaffrey will not have to have as big a workload, but I don't think he catches 100 passes. Carolina's main concern is the secondary. The corners and the secondary. Trey Boston's their best secondary member is a problem. We can score only on Madden. Carolina will be the lowest scoring team in the division, and they'll score 24 points a game. They will not be – they'll score against certain teams. The problem is they're going to get scored on a lot. Carolina's front 7, KK Short is back full strength. We'll hopefully get back to the form he was very injured. Brian Burns, we'll see what the full season is with him in there. There is no pass rush. All right, Carolina does not have much of a pass rush. Derek Brown, we haven't seen much of him. He's a rookie. There's not a guy that's going to be a double-digit sack artist on this team this year unless Burns plays the expectation. And if you don't have a solid front 7 rushing the passer and your secondary is not good in a division with 3 of the 5 best passing offenses in the entire NFL, a.k.a. if you're playing FanDuel fantasy football, draft nothing but Falcons, Bucks, and Saints the week they play Carolina corners. It's going to be a slaughtering. The Panthers are a 3-point dog at home against the Raiders. And listen, that's fine. I'll take Carolina plus the 3, and I'll also eat a hot dog in the process. The Raiders ain't coming across the country to beat the Panthers on Sunday. Once again, Carolina will get 3 wins against the AFC West. Burns will finish with 10 sacks. Listen, unless he finishes with 20 sacks, ain't gonna be much of anything.
Say what you will about the AFC West, by the way, those defenses are revamped. Christian McCaffrey will have to try to run against that, and they're going to dare Teddy Bridgewater to throw it over the top. That is a bridge over troubled waters, if I ever saw it. Danny?
Yeah, River doesn't run through it. All right, let's go to the NFC West. Kyle, anything about the Panthers before we go into the West?
They're not going to be good this year.
All right. Let's talk about the NFC West. And I think the team now. This is a division that had the NFC Super Bowl, the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals, and the LA Rams all in the same division. Kyle says this is the best division in football. I kind of disagree with him, Kyle. Who you got? I'm gonna start. You go first. Who you got win the division?
First of all, it's your show. You have every right to be wrong as you'd like, my friend. But what I tried to tell you is this: I have the Niners winning the division, but only for one reason, because they are a team that would never be mistaken for being vegetarians. It's ironic. They live in California, but have the least tendency towards veganism that I've seen in my entire life. Okay? Granted, I get it. Their receiver core is, listen, hey, Danny, do you want to play receiver for San Francisco? That's fine. You know how to say Garoppolo's name now, so you can make the cut. What I'm trying to say is this, partner. At the end of the day, the Niners will find a way to win a lot of bloody games that they probably arguably shouldn't be able to win because of that lack of a receiver core. But they've got rookies that are going to do the job, and at the end of the day, they run the ball first. I don't care if Matt Breida is over there in Miami now or whatever. I'm not worried about all that. That defense is great. They're going to go 12-4, win the division.
All right. So let me talk 49ers real quick before we go to the rest of the division. I have the Niners win the division at 11-5. You're right.
Ooh, one game.
The one thing I have with the 49ers is that they're going to play defense. The Niners, even with Buckner being in, is hilarious. They had Buckner, traded him away because guess what? They wanted a draft pick, and they're still loaded on the defensive line.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, Jared Kinlaw is going to step right in and do an effective job. The one thing the Niners did disappoint me was when they were picking right at that slot, they could have went and got a game-breaking wide receiver.
You and I agree on this, by the way.
Brandon Ayuk is a good receiver with long stretch Armstrong type of arms, but the problem is he's not going to scare you. Jerry Jeudy would have scared you. CeeDee Lamb would have scared you. Henry Ruggs is, listen, as much as I like Henry Ruggs, he's a one-trick pony. He's Deshaun Jackson all over again. He's not a number one. He's a very good number 2. He's just not a number 1. Jerry Jeudy was a number 1. He's a number 1. CeeDee Lamb is a number 1. Jimmy Garoppolo needed a number 1. They have arguably, I say, tight end number 1A to Travis Kelce's 1B, depending on how you like your tight ends. George Kittle is a wide receiver that just plays tight end. You're right. The Niners receivers are all in IR, but what Kyle Shanahan is the master of the, guess what, committee running back.
Thank you.
He got Matt Breida out of there because guess what? He can replace Matt Breida. They got Tevin Coleman returning. You still have Marie Mostert. You got Jerick McKinnon coming back. They got plenty of running backs.
Say, Danny Thompson, getting a running back off the street to suddenly perform as a Shanahan. Haven't we heard that before at some point in the late 90s?
Hell, it happens every time. Listen, Raheem Mostert is still running all over the Packers right now.
I'm trying to make a Mike Shanahan reference. Don't leave me hanging.
I got you. Terrell Davis.
Not Terrell Davis. I mean everybody else. Quentin. I can't even remember their damn names.
Exactly. We'll move on.
No, all right. Moving drones. There you go.
Speaking of moving on, let's talk about the team we both have at the second place in the division, which is Russell Wilson's Seattle Seahawks.
I have Wilson, sir.
Listen, soon as a new Papa Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. I got them at 10-6. Kyle, how do you have them?
I have them 11-5. Again, one game apart.
Listen, the Seahawks. They're actually listen to us, Kyle. Josh Gordon got reinstated for the 837th time this week.
Right?
Listen, but the thing is, he can't get suspended for the reason why he was suspended the other 831 times. He's going to go in the slot. They have Tyler Lockett on one side, DK Metcalf on the other side. What they also went out and got was they went out and got Greg Olsen from Carolina.
Correct.
He's going to be the guy. He's going to be a very, very solid tight end. Chris Carson's coming off an ACL injury, but he should be fine. Russell Wilson has weapons. All right.
Pop quiz, Danny Thompson. Is this the best offense that Russell Wilson has ever played with?
It's a question mark because he doesn't. We're not sure about Chris Carson's knee after the ACL injury. If he's 90% of the Chris Carson was last year, yes. The only reason why I say is because Marshawn Lynch was such a big part of Russell Wilson the year they got to the Super Bowl. It made things easier in the passing game.
So let me tell you why the answer is actually yes. The year that he actually should have won the MVP in the form of 2017, Chris Carson only got 200 or so yards. Russell Wilson was good for 700 or so yards more than that.
Understandable, but I don't think Russell Wilson's going to have to run that many yards. But this might be the most talented. This is the most talented receiving core he's ever had. I'll say that.
Good man.
DK Metcalf can barely run routes, but that's okay. He's big, physical, and can run down the field. All right. Just think of David Boston with bigger arms. All right. Tyler Lockett is a guy who can get down the field and run routes and stretch the field. As long as Josh Gordon can use his CBD oil to keep him head in the game, Josh Gordon is a dynamic playmaker when he's in the game. And what does Greg Olsen do? Greg Olsen might be the best tight end threat this team has had in almost 10 years. Listen, Greg Olsen, he makes – listen, how do you think Cam Newton was so effective? When he didn't have a deep ball receiver down the field, Greg Olsen was making those plays. You go from Cam Newton, who get the ball to Russell Wilson, a little bit more accurate. The ball's a little bit better thrown. The one thing with the Seahawks I worry about is outside of Bobby Wagner, are there enough playmakers on defense, especially with Jadeveon Clowney now wearing in the colors of Tennessee? I'm still a little skeptical. That's why I got him at 10-6 and second, Kyle. Why you have the Seahawks so high this year?
Listen, I love your point. You made all the points on offense that I would have made, except better. I appreciate where you're coming from on offense. On defense, the reason why I maintain faith, albeit it's scandalous that he bailed from USC when all the allegations and NCAA investigations went down. But Pete Carroll is a defensive coach that does a lot of good things, and I think he can get this group together with Bobby Wagner to do enough damage. Listen, I may be sentimentally hurt that Shaquem Griffin got cut, but that's still a good defense at the end of the day. I have them maintaining 11-5 because, listen, they're going to split a game with the 49ers because that's the second best rivalry in the NFL behind the Steelers and Ravens.
All right, real quick, we got two more teams go over before the show kicks off. Kyle, you have the Arizona Cardinals a little bit higher than I have them. Kyle, where do you got them?
I have them a lot higher. I have them at 11-5. They're going to shock the bejesus out of people simply because of that offense and nothing more. Danny Thompson, run down the names on that offense real quick, if you don't mind.
Your quarterback is Kyler Murray. Wide receivers, you have DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. You have
running backs and
Kenyon Drake and running back.
Oh, but then you bring in Kenyon Drake as well. And by the way, their offensive line, not all that bad. What more do I need to say? Their defense is generally pretty damn tough on top of that. There's going to be mistakes made in this division. Seattle will once again stumble against the Cardinals and not expect to. The 49ers will stumble against the Cardinals when they're not expected to. Matter of fact, the only team in this division that gets swept by the 49ers is the Los Angeles Rams. No one else in the division gets swept by any other team, save them based on my prediction. And that alone brings them to not only seal up the playoff spot ahead of the Seahawks by tiebreakers, but knocking the Atlanta Falcons completely out. With all due respect, my good friend.
No problem. I have Arizona 8-8. Here's the thing: Kyler Murray is going to be a question in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. Yes, like we mentioned earlier with Drew Lock out in Denver. Arizona went out and got receivers everywhere. Now, also the drafting of Anthony Simmons in the first round also helps because he plays multiple positions. The problem is, and Chandler Jones, to me, is arguably the best pass rusher in football. Listen, I mean, to me, that's just my thoughts, in my opinion.
He's really good. I don't know about this best stuff. We'll talk about that later.
I mean, otherwise, I'll John Jones roundhouse kick anybody that thinks otherwise.
And the face.
I'll do it for you. In the face. The question with Aaron and Patrick Peters is at the secondary. The question with this is, can the run defense, can this defense stop the run? Can they stop the run? Can Kyler Murray make enough throws? And do you trust Cliff Kingsbury's offense in year number 2? I don't think, as far coaching will be the reason why they missed the playoffs. Kingsbury is still inexperienced. When you had a division, when you have Kyle Shanahan, who's gone to the Super Bowl as a coordinator and a head coach, Pete Carroll, who's won on multiple levels and knows how to win in big games, except for not giving Marshawn Lynch the ball. But in a division where you need to make critical coaching decisions, I think he gets out coached in late game situations by Pete Carroll and also Kyle Shanahan. I have them at 8-8, but listen, if they end up 10-6, it wouldn't shock me. Last but not least in the division is the Los Angeles Rams. Well, they resigned Jalen Ramsey. Still have a contract right now.
And
I know Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey's looking at all the corners around him, looking like Jalen Ramsey is like the cat. It's like an animal in the pound. He's watching all his friends get adopted with brand new contracts, and he's looking for his. Gone is all the running backs that got them to the Super Bowl. And yes, Jared Goff also does not have Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver. Nothing against Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. It just doesn't scare me. Tyler Higbee's a pretty good a good tight end, and Gerald Everett's okay. Offense line is and the defense led by Aaron Donald is good, but they give up a little bit too much at times. I don't trust Jared Goff. I'm good with them at 7-9. Kyle, where you got him?
You scoff at Goff. You say 7-9. You're incredibly incorrect. Matter of fact, burn yourself in effigy. I say 6-10. All right. Just again, a 1-game difference, my friend.
All right, Kyle, who you got the Super Bowl and who you got winning it all? So before we check out.
Wow. Super Bowl winning it all. I mean, listen, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to put together a hell of a role for me to not believe that the Baltimore Ravens do not win the day for the Super Bowl. But I don't have people want to try to tell me the Bucs are going to make the Super Bowl. Let's not get stupid. I'm going to be called a homer for this, but I listen, other than the fact that the history trends against them, you're going to have to try to do a good job to tell me why the Niners don't return. Because at some point, these receivers will get healthy and will surprise people late in the season.
So you're saying Ravens-Niners with the Ravens win the Super Bowl?
I do. God, that's a painful repeat, isn't it?
All right. I don't have it the same way. So in the AFC, listen, unless he gets hurt again, it's Kansas City. They're going to outscore everybody.
Table flip. I'm so angry.
I mean, unless Patrick Mahomes gets hurt, there's no reason why Kansas City doesn't win the AFC. But here's the thing. The NFC is a little bit different. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl in the NFC.
I'm not going to do that.
Listen, Russell Wilson has done more with less. Now he has more. Seattle's going to end up with the right situation in the playoffs. They're going to get a right set of games. The reason why I was going to say Tampa in the beginning, but Tampa has to get home field advantage. What I mean by that is they have to get the bye. With 7 teams in the wild card this year, only 1 bye. They have to get it. If they're going to get to the Super Bowl, Brady's only going to have to play 3 games instead of 4. That's why the Buccaneers are at the Super Bowl. I trust Russell Wilson more than any other quarterback in the conference, and that includes my favorite quarterback, Matt Ryan.
And hey, listen, that's an actual first-round Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah,
I did disagree with that. I have Chiefs, Seahawks, the AFC West, an old school AFC West Chris Berman special. And listen, Pat Mahomes is the guy. Pat Mahomes is the Stephen Curry of football. He's the best player in the game now.
There's a reason we call him Mahomes. I hear you.
Listen, there's a reason why this man got $500 million. It's just that simple.
$500 million.
$500 million. What a beat. So I have Chiefs Seahawks in the Super Bowl with Pat Mahomes repeating I have Pat Mahomes pulling the daily double of being regular season and Super Bowl MVP.
I'm just not brave enough to do that, but that's not a bad pick, bro. I'm not going to stop you.
Kyle, any shots before we go? I know we went longer tonight.
Yeah, we did go long tonight. It was a good episode. And listen, Danny Thompson, I expected us to disagree a lot more than we did. Turns out it's only your homerism and pessimism in the NFC West that is the difference here. I'm very shocked by this. Of course, find me on Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Instagram as the same, the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game. And check out all my works at Hilarity by Default, oldschool101.com, and of course here with a 3-point conversion and Beyond the Buzzer. Danny Thompson.
Yes, check me out at 3pointconversion.com. I do have a WNBA article coming up sometime later on this week. We're also previewing all the NFL divisions. We've been posting them all the last couple of days. Also, check out my work at SI.com covering the Charlotte Hornets. And yes, I do have articles coming this week. Multiple articles on the Hornets and their offseason, as well as a Anthony Edwards preview. If you want to learn more about LaMelo Ball and James Wiseman, you can also check out SI.com. Also, check me and Kyle out, as I said, every Monday and Thursday night on the show. We will not be on the air Thursday because it is the beginning of the NFL season. So if you missed this or you missed our predictions, go ahead and rewatch it, reload it, and once again, big shout outs to I-95 Sports and on Channel 198 and Zingo if you want to catch it as well too. Catch me on Twitter at Danny D-A-N-Y, number 3 Thomas on Twitter. Big shout outs to every person that stepped in the room tonight. I know it was a little bit longer than normal. It is what it is. All right. So for myself, the student of the game, Mr. Kyle Nash, my main man, Bobby Blackjack, up in New Jersey with the Crickets tonight, just like the Panthers season. I'm Danny Thompson. We'll check you guys out Monday night. Enjoy the start of football season because it is what it is. This is Beyond the Buzzer. And by the way, before we go, it has been over 175 days since Breonna Taylor's killers have Breonna Taylor was shot and murdered in her home for no apparent reason. The Louisville DA is trying to do a plea deal with her boyfriend and say that he's part of a drug ring. Have fun with that one. It's time to arrest the killers. It's also time to get Daniel Cameron out of office. If you are in legislation, you listen to this show, please do your motherfucking job. For myself and Kyle, we're out. See you on Monday.